I remember the last time I heard of him was maybe back in like 2021. Um, and the only thing I remember of him was a debate he had about like Nazi rhetoric or something, and somebody basically read him an excerpt from like this Nazi website and replaced everything with some other word. And then the person asked him, "Does this sound like Nazi rhetoric to you?" And Sandel's like, "Yeah, no, it doesn't," or something like that. Yeah, that was hilarious. How did you guys convo go? I also gotta say something. Do not go watch 28. I'm streaming now, so everybody else will see this. Do not go watch 28 Years Later. Holy fuck. That is by far the worst movie I've seen in years. Not even close. I'm not kidding. It is so boring. I hate it. Everybody's glazing it online, and I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? This is not a horror movie. The zombies are only in there for like a total of 15 minutes. And it's just a bunch of people. It's just this kid and his mom walking around trying to find a doctor to cure his mama. And it's so boring. The kid's got good acting and everything, but holy fuck, it is trash. Oh my gosh. I might need to make a rant video after this. Holy shit, it was so bad. I was tearing up from crying so hard at the very ending, though. There was some sort of huge tonal shift that I never saw coming. And it was so comically out of place that I literally teared up from laughing. But other than that, I did not enjoy it at all. Oh shit. Hello there, Sanzel. The Son Man. The Sonmeister. How's he doing anyways? Yeah, do not watch 28 Years Later. Please. It's fucking trash. It's fucking artsy fartsy critic film nonsense. Huh? Hmm. Hmm. Mm-hmm. Shit, can I not link this video? Hmm. Everybody's wondering, like, who the fuck are you talking to, buddy? Mm-hmm. Hmm. Yeah, don't debate religion with the Christian in a public space. Oh, that's a bad idea, man. People get drunk and shit. Ha! Nice. Masturbator. Fuck yeah. Tell me whenever you're ready. I have it loaded up. We're watching Is God Required for Knowledge? No. Not even close. And you're a goofball if you think yes. Whenever you enter the thing. Oh yeah, did you know she has this cool little intro? It's so over the top. It's like, oh yeah, we gotta stop the incels on a fucking spaceship and everything, looking like Star Wars, and then it just cuts to a panel of like four chuds. I love the disconnect between the intro. What the fuck is that monologue? She sounds like GLaDOS from fucking Portal 2. Oh shit. Gotta. Oh wait, I gotta put the audio to my fucking stream.
A different one where it had like a different intro. That shit was funny as fuck.
Oh shit! You haven't been saying anything in my stream the entire time. I forgot to change the audio fucking output. Son of a bitch.
Damn, that's crazy.
No.
Abort mission. I repeat, abort mission. Negotiation
fuck?
failure. Abort mission.
I remember when I first saw this. I think it was the soy pill that was on the debate panel. When I first, very first time I came across this lady. I wonder where she got this footage from.
Yeah, this shit's insane. And it's just a fucking debate.
It just goes on for like a solid 4 minutes.
It's great. I love it.
Control, Yashiman. Heavy booties, 6+ low orbit over grid 15-2. No joy, Yashiman. Then go to your window and look up their biggest fracking asteroid. Copy,
What the
Yashiman.
fuck
Still
is
blind.
going
Got
on?
some kind of system-wide crash in
Is that
the
Andrew
atmosphere.
Wilson talking?
Right goddamn now, 'cause we got Boku inbound, and they're not carrying flow. Wait one, Yashiman. You don't have
That doesn't sound like him, but it could be like a.
The tone, the accent, kind of sounds like this. You know, he kind of sounds like the Joker a little bit
Yeah.
at times.
Yeah, I don't hear like the certain tone in his voice like I
Weird.
would.
Okay, this is going on way too long. We're 2 minutes. Okay.
Average
we
average
go.
anime episode.
Fuck yeah, dude. This is the Dragon Ball of debates. And then it just cuts to this.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. I am Sarah, the Raging Tomato.
I love the
Oh, wait, this
disconnect,
is
man.
different. This is a
Moderator
different one
Monday.
actually.
This evening we
Oh yeah,
question
this
the
is
topic
this
of
is the panel we're
whether
appearing
ever-
on.
I'm sorry,
This is
is
gonna be what
God
we're debating on
required for
Sunday.
knowledge?
This lady's
I'm
This is
Alex
different from
from
what
the
you
Wi-Fi
were
Gospel,
mentioning
and
earlier, I
Joel
think, or
from the
no?
Think Institute.
Maybe I just didn't look past it. Oh, it's God. Yeah, this is different.
Yeah, we're
Yeah,
going
this
on the
is fine,
Raging
though. I
Tomato.
like
This
it.
is this is the lady that's gonna be moderating us.
Yeah, no,
And then
I
Wi-Fi
know
Gospel
that. I
is
was
the
talking about.
fucker.
We were talking about a different debate in DMs, I think.
Oh yeah. We talked about like a total of 3 of them. We watched one of them a couple
Yeah.
days ago, and then we
Mhm.
have this one today. And then I believe there's a third one where Wi-Fi and Jeff show up again, but it's debating something called Sola Scriptura or some shit, which I don't think is relevant personally.
I mean, it's probably good to know just to get Jeff's kind of, what's the word I'm looking for, rhetoric.
Possibly. Yeah, that is true. Just kind of
But,
get a feel
but
for
that
his
would be
rhetorical
something I would
style.
look at after.
Yeah, that's more like an
So I have a
afterthought to
feeling
me.
we're mostly going to have all the contentious stuff with. I think Wi-Fi Gospel is going to be the one that we're going to be really beefing with.
Also, the
But-
fact that shit, what was I gonna say? Fuck. Never mind. I forgot what I was about to say. Okay, let's begin this off. Whenever it wants to unpause. There we go.
Craig McNeil from FTFE and Flow State, also known as the Powdered Dusty. Gentlemen,
This
who
gets
would like
heated,
to
by
go
the way.
ahead
I
and kick
remember-
off with
I-
you
I
for
saw this
opening
one.
Statements, Alex.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here, everybody. I appreciate you guys. You can find me on YouTube. I do a lot of debates, stuff like that.
Okay, we're gonna
Let's get
fast
started.
forward it a
Proverbs
little bit.
1:7 says that the fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. And this truth is echoed throughout the entire Bible. The Bible is clear that no knowledge can be had apart from God. All knowledge assumes the truth of the Christian worldview. Whatever you claim to know something, the foundation for that knowledge is the fear of the Lord.
We're probably gonna be I'm the motherfucker who's gonna pause every time he keeps making an assertion without presuppositions and shit like that. But I'm gonna try not to do that so we can actually get through the debate. Oh man, this is gonna be painful.
Now, this debate isn't merely about winning. Souls are literally at stake tonight. In fact,
What?
during this debate, you may receive more light and truth than you ever have before, and God
No.
will hold you accountable for what you do with it.
No.
If you don't repent of your sins and place your faith in Jesus Christ, there will be no hope for you. My sister was just in a really bad car accident. She's okay.
Oh.
She has some major injuries,
Okay.
but she's recovering well. It was
Okay.
just a sober
Good job.
reminder that any moment can be your last. She didn't wake up that day thinking she was going to end up
That's
laying in a
very
What is-
great.
blood on the
What the
pavement.
fuck does this have to do
What
with
is?
anything?
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. What the fuck
All
does
the
this have to
information
do
that
with
God
God?
But we suppress that truth because of our
Like,
righteousness.
I'm
Oh
so
no, he's
sorry
no, no,
for
no, no,
his
no, no.
sister,
He just
but-
did the fucking thing where it's like everybody knows God exists, but we suppress the truth. He just did the thing. He just did
Oh,
the
that's-
fucking thing.
yeah, that-
Everybody knows
uh,
God is real, bro. You're just denying yourself. No.
Those memes are so played out. It's.
Oh no.
I
this is-
really hope we're not going to go up against all these level 1 arguments. Hopefully, he has something a little bit better than this.
I'm not even a
'cause
religious debater kind of guy. This is just like
it's
prop,
just
prop
so
logic
cucked.
shit. This is like
Like-
broken. I seriously
It's so cucked, man.
I seriously hope he's gonna be better when we debate him because I actually kind of want a challenge a little bit, you know? Challenge me on my very first
Uh,
debate panel, man. Here, I thought Elzar was gonna be a
please.
layup.
Fact that every time we open our mouths and make statements about reality, we assume the God we deny. And the argument starts like this: if humans know things, then the Christian worldview is true. If humans know things, therefore the Christian worldview is true.
That is so
Oh, yeah,
fucking
this is
stupid.
the
It's the same thing
this
we
is the
saw last time.
progressive argument of tag. Yeah,
Yep.
Nice discussion.
it's just
We'll use a
modus
simple form-
ponens. Yeah, like
I'm just gonna
Cool.
call it Monus Pubis because it's funnier that way.
or no, it's just Mons Pubis. If you're
Mons
gonna,
Pubis.
gonna get your anatomy claims right, man. What the fuck? No.
Look, I'm not a woman, okay? I'm a man.
Wait, are you implying that I'm a woman? Hold on.
Wait, what the fuck? I don't know.
Misgendering? No.
What's going on now?
All right, we got him. Paul Latix, transphobe. No, I'm kidding. Serial
Post-left transphobe
misgender.
here.
God.
philosophical definition of knowledge: justified true belief. The key problem is, how do we know if a belief is true or justified? Imagine I
Problem
stop
with
at my usual
Criterion
gas station
moment.
after work. I pay with my card, insert the pump, pull the trigger, let it run for 10 minutes, hang it up, and drive home. Later, when my wife asks me, "Hey, is the gas tank full?" I'll answer, "Yeah, I just filled it." She goes out to the car, it doesn't start. There's no gas in the tank. It turns out the gas tank had a hole in it, and I didn't notice, and it leaked all over the street on the way home. In this case, I merely had a false belief that my gas tank was full, not knowledge, because it wasn't actually true that my tank was full. Now, what if my gas tank didn't have a hole in it, but I was 70 years old and had dementia? I stop at the gas station, put the pump in my gas tank, and pull the trigger. The gas dispenses, and I fill my tank. My wife asks me, "Hey, is the gas tank full?" And I answer, "Yes, of course, I just filled it." She goes out, she starts the car, and the tank is indeed full. The issue is I have dementia, and it wasn't me that filled my tank. It was one of my children who loves to help me out, and I just remembered wrong because I have dementia. It's true that my tank is full, but my justification was no justification
What the
at all.
fuck is he talking about?
It's how he it's how he forms knowledge, basically. He's saying you
Right.
can't have knowledge without like an absolute truth or really just truth of the matter.
I
And
want
that
him
you
to define
can't,
knowledge.
Like, and if you don't get your details right, like certain aspects of it, you also don't have knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
But which I feel like is kind of leading up to absolute knowledge here, but we'll see in a moment.
Mm-hmm.
I had a true belief, but not knowledge. This illustrates why knowledge must be infallibly true and undoubtedly justified. The only alternative.
Okay, this is a new argument actually, or something
The
different.
problem with this
I'm
Oh,
gonna pause
sweet.
this real quick. Yeah. Yeah, basically what he's saying is you can't have knowledge unless you're, completely infallible in like what you're saying.
I really want
Hey,
him to
yeah,
define
you-
what knowledge is because
I
feel
think
like
he's about to here, but
I think we're
he's saying
gonna
that like knowledge can't exist without it being absolute here. or
I
infallible,
think
which
that
is-
we need to get our
strange.
terms straight because I feel like there's the potential to be talking past each other a lot based on what I'm hearing right now.
Oh yeah, this is rife with like just over talking and kind of going past each other. Yeah, this is
This is going to be one of those kinds of debates. So we're going to have to set the frame early and ask for definitions whenever they start using these terms because I don't think I define knowledge the same way he does if we're talking about knowledge as infallible and absolute because I don't think there's necessarily
yeah, I agree
absolute
as well. We're
or
gonna need to-
infallible knowledge in the sense that we're constantly progressing towards the truth, but we may never end up finding it because science is constantly proving itself wrong and everything like that. That's the entire point of the scientific method.
is that any
Yeah,
level
because
under 100
I don't know. The concept of absolute truth is weird in that, like, how do we know if our minds are fallible? The only thing it can appeal to is like an infallible being. And
Yeah.
in my view, like I don't think that currently exists or hasn't been demonstrated to exist as of right now.
Yeah.
I don't know.
100% is completely arbitrary. There's no principled reason why it should be 99 or 51%. So it follows that if it's arbitrary, I can use whatever level I want, including less than 1%. And infallibilism is true. My belief in God could
Oh shit, I just realized the Raging Tomato is actually doing a stream tonight about whether Christian God is not the necessary precondition for all knowledge. It looks like somebody's already doing that tonight on her channel. I'll watch that later and see
Uh,
if he gives us any good arguments. I'll link it to
Oh,
you
is
as well.
is he on?
Yeah, they're streaming right now. They just started.
Maybe we could crash the open panel.
I mean, maybe, yeah. I mean, it's somebody that's arguing God isn't the necessary precondition. It's some atheist on there right now, it looks like.
Okay, gotcha.
I'm gonna
We
check it
could
out
crash
later.
after on the open.
For sure.
be less than 1% probable, and it must be considered knowledge. Lastly, if the only way to know something is to know it infallibly, then it may seem that God can only know things. Well, not really. Is it possible that God could reveal things to us such that we can know them infallibly? The eternal, holy creator and sustainer of all things. That God can most definitely reveal things to us such that we can know them. In fact,
How
this
do
is
you
the
know
only-
it's God revealing it to us, though? Like, we don't even know how God is revealing it to us, or even can confirm if it's God revealing it to us. Because as far as I'm aware, it's the pagans who revealed it to us, not God. Most of modern...
Yeah, there's a
most
there's
of...
a really
Mm.
fun thing you could do and be like, oh, like you think God revealed that to you? Well, what if the devil was lying to you about that? It's like,
That is
How
true.
would you ever know? Like you could take their idea of like it completely having infallible knowledge. Like you could go down that route and then just completely like just make them doubt
That
every
is
single
true,
time. Like,
yeah.
just throw in doubt where possible, and yeah.
Yep. That is true.
only way we can know things. Without general and special revelation from God, we cannot know anything, and that's what we will demonstrate in this debate.
But they never demonstrate
you.
it.
Joel,
That
too.
it's impossible to demonstrate by objective, rational means because because God literally doesn't exist. It's not possible. I even watched Trent Horn recently debate Alex O'Connor, and it's basically the same things that he's saying. It's very intuition based. Literally nothing grounding it in reality besides intuition and guessing and using logic that is full of holes and stuff like that. Except he was a lot more well spoken than these two guys. But yeah, there's just like no way to demonstrate this because of the inherent nature of God.
All right, my name is Joel Sedekase. I'm the founder
Hi, Joel.
and president of the Think Institute. We're a Christian teaching and outreach organization aimed at helping regular believers to articulate, share, and defend the truth of the
Nice
Christian worldview.
mustache.
Let's talk about knowledge. When it comes to
Yeah, he's got a
knowledge, there are
great
two
mustache.
possible levels.
I'm already
The
like
first level, the primary level, consists
I
of
think he's
certain
already won the
necessary
debate with that
beliefs
mustache
cannot
right
be
there.
Fuck yeah,
For an
dude.
infallibilist, someone who says that belief must be
He's
certain and
mogging us
justified,
right
these are
now.
the only kinds of beliefs that actually count as knowledge. But then there's
Yeah,
the
can we
level two
debate this
beliefs.
guy
These are
instead?
the
I
ones
just
certain beliefs
concede
that
on the
continue.
spot.
They may be false,
Yeah.
but given how much knowledge, they can count as
He has
knowledge.
too much
Level two beliefs are
testosterone.
warranted when they are produced by truth-seeking
True.
faculties
I'm a
functioning
soy
with regular
boy.
design, seeking truth in a favorable
Now we
environment.
have to. We
Now,
should actually listen to what he's
atheism
saying.
undercuts knowledge at both levels. Any attempted certainty without God leads to an infinite regress of justification. I know A because of B, I know B because of C ad infinitum. This leads to radical uncertainty about
Oh yeah,
literally
like
everything
the
believed.
the
Without
strategy
certainty,
for the response to this is why is an infinite regress necessarily bad? That's it.
Yeah.
I don't think that an infinite regress is necessarily something that's like bad.
Some things are
It's,
just kind of like that.
Yeah, at some point things have to kind of terminate
Mhm.
due to an axiom, like or like a presupposition in some
What's
of
an
these people's
axiom?
cases. Basically, it's just like a foundational belief that you just hold to be true.
It's okay. It's just a foundational belief. Okay, cool. Like
Yeah.
being pro-life or something, right? Like a very foundational of the framework, or
Like saying, how do I place this? One common one is that we kind of just assume that we're able to like experience everything, like we're not in a simulation.
okay, got it.
Like what's we are experiencing is real, and that we ourselves are real. Like that's one thing that we can say is foundational that
Okay,
everyone would necessarily agree with.
got it. Okay, cool.
there can be no infallible certain beliefs. But level two beliefs are also undermined. Without God, there's no warrant for trusting our faculties or the intelligibility of our environment. Now, God, on the other hand, does ground knowledge. First, God is the necessary precondition for level one beliefs. For example, laws of logic, which are certain. They are immaterial, absolute, objective, universal, and one and many. God
No, not all of them are. Oh wait, laws of logic. Never mind. you can qualify those, sure, as objective and universal and stuff like that, but that doesn't make them perfect or the foundation to prove God exists at the same time, you know? And they also came from pagans, not Christians.
Yeah, yeah. Another. Well, I guess. Yeah, true. But at the same time, like
Mm.
you'd have to argue that God was the one that revealed this. At the end of the day, like that's what they have to do.
Hmm.
Is they have to reveal that God gave them that, because otherwise, there's really no other way to do that.
I love how God gave
'Cause-
everybody before Christians all the cool stuff, and then Christians just kind of had to settle with what the pagans said and all that.
True.
Yeah, it's weird. God's revealing all the cool stuff and all the base shit before Christians even came to begin. Weird.
God has all these attributes, and so God grounds logic, mathematical principles, moral absolutes.
Oh, wait a
and
second. I think I need to give you the ability to pause and play too. There we go. You can do it now
Word.
too if you need to.
obligations. God is necessary for these certain justified true beliefs. And from these primary beliefs, we come to the level 2 beliefs, the ones that are uncertain, but which some people may want to call knowledge. In order for them to be warranted, we must have truth-seeking faculties aimed at truth functioning according to design in a favorable environment. But if you take God out of the equation,
Why must we have that? Why do we need God to be that
It's
that
like,
being? Why do we need the Christian God specifically to be that being?
it feels like a God of the Gaps thing where they feel like they have to have answers for every single thing. And whenever we don't have a definitive answer for something, just say it's God and that's it. With no evidence whatsoever. Just fill in God for as answers for everything that we cannot confirm with our own two eyes, kind of thing, is what I feel like they're kind of doing. That feels like the underlying basis for justifying God from like a philosophical stance overall. Just that we
Yeah,
need
because
answers for
we-
stuff.
Yeah, we need the answers, and we don't have any way to satisfy them right now.
Yeah,
Like
it's
there
like
is no satisfactory answer.
they want immediate gratification over long-term truth, in my opinion, based on everything I've heard them say so
They
far.
want, yeah, they just want to kind of satisfy some question rather than find the right answer.
Yeah.
Because like there's like a meme where someone says, oh, like I can multiply two numbers really fast, and some guy will say, oh yeah, like what's 13 times 49, and they'll say like 360. It's like, that's wrong. Yeah, but I did it fast.
Yep.
That's kind of what the theist worldview is sometimes.
Yeah, it is.
It's like, I came up with an answer
reason to
first.
think-
Is it correct? No, but it's an answer.
That is true, yeah.
any of those things
Yeah,
obtained.
we can go.
With God, of course, they are all there. They're all justified. God is necessary for contingent, warranted beliefs. Now, here is our opponent's problem. They have to come here and seem as though they are certain that God is not necessary for knowledge. But they abandoned certainty when they abandoned God, despite the implications of their position, which does lead to radical uncertainty, radical skepticism. You're not going to hear radical skepticism tonight. You're not going to hear radical uncertainty. They're going to act like they are certain. Why? Because they know what we know, what you know, that there is no escaping the truth. God is there, and God is necessary for knowledge.
So their argument
Joel.
is
Craig, you?
literally just, you actually believe in a God. You're not an actual skeptic. That's
Oh,
it.
God. Dude,
God,
I really
ugh,
wish I was
that-
debating like inspiring philosophy or some shit, honestly.
It's so like, one, it's just dishonest, but like two, like it's so played out as well. Like that's it.
William Lane Craig
that's
is
your-
rolling
that's
in
your
his
angle?
bed right now listening to this.
Yeah, how are you getting mocked by William Lane Craig of all people?
Oh man.
When we're having to say that William Lane Craig's arguments are better than theirs, it's I am depressed.
Yeah.
Oh shit, that's a sandworm. Hold up.
Uh-oh.
I was
Okay, yeah.
about
So
to
I wanna-
cross the road and realize that there was a bus going towards me.
Oh,
Or, in
shit.
this case, a sandworm.
Fortnite.
Real.
Okay, well let's listen to the atheists now.
These debates where we take a perfectly reasonable question about knowledge and
These guys get heated, by the way, I believe.
jam God into it like an unwanted pop-up.
Also, before we get into this, I don't know. I'm not a big fan of Craig.
You know
he
him?
gets way too angry. Well, I've seen some of his debates, flat Earth debates.
Oh, wonderful.
But like he gets really angry really quickly, and he kind of just sounds a little like, this is more or less just me nitpicking. He just doesn't sound all that like great, like to listen to. He's a little irritating.
Wonderful.
that's all.
Into it like an unwanted pop-up ad. The question at hand is God required for knowledge? But before we even get to that, we need to address the sneaky little trick hidden in the question, because this is actually two debates in a trench coat. The first part asks about knowledge, but lurking right underneath is, does God even exist? Because if God doesn't exist, then asking if he's required for knowledge is like asking if unicorn tears are required for hydration. The answer isn't just no, it's what the hell are you even talking about? Let's be clear, nobody has ever proven the existence of God, not once, ever. The best we've gotten are philosophical word games.
I mean, he's
ancient texts
he's
contradict
right.
themselves, and the occasional just
Yeah,
look at
he's
the
right,
trees
yeah.
argument. So if my opponents want to argue that God is necessary for knowledge, they first need to prove that God exists. And if they could do that, they wouldn't be debating me on the internet. They'd be out there claiming their Nobel Prize, shaking hands with world leaders, and probably launching some tax-exempt megachurch. But hey, let's humor the idea for a second to pretend that knowledge only exists because some cosmic overseer is handing out like party favors. That would be a bit weird though, wouldn't it? Because atheists, agnostics, and skeptics all still manage to know things. Scientists make discoveries, doctors save lives, engineers build bridges, all without requiring a single divine permission slip. Even dogs who, as far as I can tell, have never attended Sunday school, still know when it's dinner time. And then there is, this is where the presuppositionalists roll in with their favorite move. But how do you justify logic without God? As if logic is some magical artifact that God forged in the divine realm and bestowed upon humanity like an overly complicated IKEA instruction manual. The answer is simple. Logic works because reality is consistent. We use it because it gets results. We don't need a celestial babysitter to explain why fire burns hot, why objects fall, or why touching an electric fence with your tongue is a bad idea. So let's recap. In order to prove that God is required for knowledge, my opponents first have to prove that God exists. Then they have to prove that knowledge specifically comes from him and not from our own ability to observe, test, and reason. That's a big ask. And given that the thousands of years of religious philosophy still hasn't pulled it off, I'm not exactly holding my breath. But hey, maybe tonight's the night, or my opponent cracks the case. Maybe they've got the one argument that will change history forever, or maybe...
You know what? That's actually not a bad intro. I'm not even gonna lie. Like,
Yeah, it's pretty good. He's covering all the
I-
bases and stuff like that.
yeah, like that. Very much kind of sums up the debate. Actually, like
Mm-hmm.
you have to first prove that the God exists, and I would go even further to say that their specific God exists.
Yep.
Like I wouldn't even go for a generic God right there. Just does your God exist? And then yeah, the knowledge claim, like, oh yeah, does God actually reveal knowledge to us? If so, how? Like that becomes more of the empirical side of things. And well, at that point, like they're cooked too.
Indeed. Yeah.
It just frames the debate really well, actually, because at this point now it's just, oh, how do you know that your God exists?
Mhm.
And now it really just forces the ball back into like the court of the theists here to actually prove that God exists instead of just, you know, making a silly little argument and then just saying, oh,
Silly
it
little
has to be the
argument.
case. Yeah, no, that's a great intro, actually.
Maybe they just
Indeed.
repeat some warmed over, already debunked nonsense and call it a day. Let's find out.
Thank you so much, Craig.
Oh,
Flo, to you.
nice and short too.
Oh yeah.
Right?
So we can use the definition of knowledge that they provide, which is justified true belief, and I think that we could easily demonstrate that that's not the case with that definition. But I want to point out real quick that the reason that they didn't choose the Merriam-Webster definition, which is the fact or condition of knowing something with familiarity gained through experience or association. That would have been a lot harder
Ooh.
slog uphill.
Right, wait, run that back again.
The philosophical
The Merriam-Webster definition that he brought up, that's a pretty
you can use
sharp
the
call out.
definition of knowledge that they provide, which is justified true belief, and I think that we could easily demonstrate that that's
You
not
know,
the case
yeah, go
with that
go
definition.
back
But I
a
want
few seconds. Oh wait, oh you just did. Oh.
Yeah.
point out real quick that the reason that they didn't choose the Merriam-Webster definition, which is the fact or condition of knowing something with familiarity gained through experience or association. That would have been a lot harder slog uphill.
Yeah, that would completely shoot them in the foot if they used the actual definition of knowledge according to the dictionary. Because
Yeah, yeah. If they used a definition that was more so not, you know, theologically driven, but more secular, yeah, they would have been
colloquial
cooked.
definition, I guess you can say.
Or yeah, colloquially, yeah, that too.
the philosophical claim that the claim that we need God to have knowledge that I heard from Joel a minute ago is basically the claim that without God you have uncertainty. But that is what we have. We have uncertainty. We don't know. And the issue with claiming you know something when you don't actually know it is then you stop looking and learning. You consider yourself to have that filled. So the fact is that if we're being honest, which I think that God would want, if we're being honest, we don't know where anything came from. And if we had faith, we would be okay with that because that's how it's supposed to be.
Thank you so much. And gentlemen, I appreciate all of your opening statements. And as a kind reminder to all the viewers out there, everybody up here is free streaming on their own end. Please feel free to like, subscribe, and share. There are over 400 of you watching right now. I expect to see a bunch of thumbs up all over the place. As another reminder, we will go into open panel dumpster fire at the end of this. We will run a 2-hour
We're not going to
debate.
watch that.
We will do closing statements, read and respond to super chats, and then we will open the floor up for the public. Gentlemen, I leave the floor open to you.
Thanks. Craig, real quick, do you agree that there's a distinction between certain necessary beliefs and uncertain contingent beliefs?
What?
And how do you, as an atheist, achieve certainty for level 1 beliefs? Those
Ooh,
certain beliefs?
necessary and contingent. Oh god.
What
I've
the
heard
fuck does
this
he
shit
mean by
before.
level 1 and 2 beliefs?
I think he's just going with necessary and contingent.
Got it. I just don't know what the levels are. Does he mean like the premise 1 level and premise level 2?
No,
kind
no,
of
he's
thing, or-
talking about two types of beliefs. One, a necessary belief being that it has to be true in all cases, and then a contingent belief where it's where a belief is contingent on another one being true. I believe is what
Okay.
he's going with.
Cool.
I could be wrong though, but either way, either he's using it wrong, I'm using it wrong, or just I'm not understanding it correctly.
Okay.
But-
Well, I mean, they don't even use the proper definition of knowledge, so
No.
they're probably just making it up on the fly.
It's like the laws of logic without God's
Mhm.
revelation.
They work. We have our own experiences and can test to see if they work, and to say that they're contingent on God is just a presupposition that God itself exists.
Craig, you said
There's
that they
no-
work, but isn't that an assumption that you bring to any of your endeavors, whether it's your time in the military or your time talking about science? Don't you have to already presuppose that the laws of logic are going to obtain and are going to work before you test anything?
Laws of logic have been tested countless times throughout
That
history.
is
They
true,
evolve
yeah. They've already been tested.
as we
Mhm.
evolve and new logical paradigms.
Good job,
Craig,
Craig.
did you say the laws of logic
logic
evolve?
the laws of logic as the humans evolve do change. The laws of logic that we now have as a species that can talk are very different to the laws of logic when we were cavemen. To say
what
that
do
the laws of logic
used
are
to be?
well, we would have laws of logical decisions that are we derive from different things than cavemen would. The laws
What
of
did
logic
those
for us
laws
are
of logic
different. Yeah, you know, if you ask me a question, you do
let
need to
it
give me the
finish.
chance to respond. So once again, this all
Oh
comes down
yeah,
to the
is that where
presupposition.
you is that where his heated quick to anger is coming in, you said earlier?
Yeah, he'll get a little like moody if he starts seeing some like really bad faith tactics. He'll get
Mm,
ass mad pretty quickly.
he's already the dude's already trying to interrupt him, so
Yeah.
That there is a God
We're gonna
for
see
logic
that a
to be a
lot.
thing. We know that logic
Yep.
works because we can test it, we can observe reality, and we can apply logic to situations and see if they work. If they don't,
And-
we can find a better logical way to go around it.
What
And the
did
laws of logic are linguistic features.
What did they used to be? Flow State, do you agree with your partner that the laws of logic have evolved since we were cavemen?
I don't think that the laws of logic evolved, but I think that they are a
Oh.
human development because they come with language. They define
Okay.
themselves.
Can you name the 3 laws of logic, one of you, real quick?
Non-self or I'm sorry, identity, excluded middle. I don't remember the third one, but they're all linguistic. What's the third one?
They have changed.
What is the
That's,
third one?
non-contradiction, excluded middle, and identity.
Okay.
You got
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Okay. So all of those, no, they haven't changed, but they could have evolved. I mean, they were developed as a way of understanding the world, but all they're doing really is referring to their linguistic origin.
Okay,
I
so
can't be a dog and be a cat at the same time because, as defined, dog is not a cat.
okay, so what you're
Very
saying,
true.
so that was a great example of the
Yeah.
second law of logic, which is the law of non-contradiction. Your partner has said that the laws of logic have evolved over time, that they weren't the same when we
Okay,
were
but
cavemen.
I mean, I don't believe that.
well,
and
I mean,
I don't know. I don't.
they didn't exist when we were cavemen.
I
They only
think
started existing a few thousand years ago.
I think what he meant to say, I think Craig here was mistaken here. I think he just misspoke, and really it's just more so an emergent like thing that has come out of humans as a result of our developments in philosophy. I
Mhm.
think that's just I think when he's using evolving here, he's using it very loosely.
Yeah, possibly.
know that that's
Yeah,
going to be the toehold that you really want it to be.
In
No,
the sense of like my partner said, in the sense of it's a linguistic feature, and as cavemen we didn't have the linguistic abilities that we do now, so we couldn't perceive the laws of logic in the way.
Yeah,
that we
okay,
can
yeah,
now
so
as a
he is saying it
sentient
is
I see.
species.
emergent.
So it's a
Yeah.
very
Laws of
different
logic.
thing.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I
it
apologize
is
for
just an
interrupting you. So
emergent
the laws of logic
property
haven't
of
changed, just our ability
logic
to
or
articulate them has
philosophy.
changed over time. Is that correct?
I suppose you could say that how we perceive the world around us, which gives us our ability to derive logical assumptions.
I see. So that's really immaterial as to whether or not the laws of logic exist today. Is that correct? They're
they-
there whether we perceive them or not.
Did God create the laws of logic, or is he?
No, they're
did they
not there
predate?
whether we don't perceive them or not. They are social constructs that we use to as forms of thought processes to draw conclusions from material reality, typically, right? Like
Yeah,
they don't
yeah,
exist
logic
in.
is just a
The question is whether
it is
all
just a
of
product
the
of our nature.
the
Like,
question
logic is just a sorry, go ahead. I'm talking
the
over you.
question is more so whether all of these different concepts and things exist independent of the human mind, which they don't, right? These are solely stuck in our heads. If the human species disappeared off the face of the earth, logic wouldn't exist, right?
I'm gonna try and like steel man the opposite to this here
Mhm.
and see where this goes. Like the idea of like non-contradiction existing in the universe, like whether we know like what a circle or triangle is. Actually, fuck. Yeah. So there could be. I guess here's the way to maybe do it. There are certain constants in the universe that allow it to exist. Those constants can't be one thing and another thing.
Hmm.
No. Like that could,
Something
and
like
even
that.
then,
So
those
like the
those
laws of
constants would
logic.
just be like some.
So like the laws of logic
Yeah, it
hold
might just be.
regardless of whether we're here or not.
Yeah, that's more like the substantiation for it. Maybe it's that like there are certain ways that things act in the universe that would not act another way suddenly, or would
Oh
not act
yeah,
another way in like the same conditions. I think
yeah,
that could be where they're going for. But if we're talking about like deriving those laws of logic and like putting them into practice and speaking about them, like yeah, it's really hard to argue the contrary here.
yeah. That is true. I would say not all logic exists independent of the mind, though. At least, right? Maybe the very
Yeah,
foundational
there's
logic that's been found by the Greeks or something, but not all logic by a long shot, because there's various types of logic which are completely broken. For example, it's called fallacious arguments, right? You know?
I guess where you could have some like I guess things that are logical outside of like the human mind, or probably just aspects of physics that exist that would comport with
Or would you
what
say
we consider.
certain
But
things
even
like the laws
even
of
then,
logic are more so observations of material reality rather than logic
yeah,
itself. They more so, when you actually boil them down, seem more like observations rather than actual laws of logic in the sense of it being a logical process.
I guess that could be a way of talking about it. Sure.
Let us continue. There we go.
They are that's a great question. They're an expression of God's mind. Do you
Okay,
agree that the laws of logic have
wait,
absolute
you've just said something very specific there. Can you demonstrate how they're an expression of God's mind and lead us to the logical assumption that you've just come to?
Yes, I did that in my opening statement, didn't I? I said that the laws of logic are immaterial, absolute, objective. They are omnipresent. They are absolute, and they also demonstrate unity and diversity.
Except
The
for the
triune
Trinity.
God of Scripture. One second. The triune God of Scripture has all of those attributes and sufficiently and necessarily grounds the law of logic. And if He is the necessary precondition for logic, then there can't be another one. What I heard in your opening statement, on the other hand, Craig, was that we don't need to ask why the fire burns. We don't need to ask why logic works. It just works. Well, if we're here to just talk about, this is just the way the world works, we don't need to really go any deeper. Then why are we even debating?
Sorry to interrupt you there, but no, that's not what I said. I didn't say we don't need to ask why. In fact, I said that we ask why, and then we get that answer without having to refer to a deity. We find out why the fire is hot by experimenting with the world.
Yep.
We find out why licking an electric fence is a bad idea by the experiences that have come beforehand. Knowledge is something that we gain through experience, and that experience can exist whether there's a deity or not.
I see. And so the laws of logic are something that we gain through a posteriori experience. Is that correct? You don't believe that there's something that we know a priori?
Not
The laws of
knowledge,
logic.
knowledge.
I mean, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, go on. No, you go ahead.
It's-
yeah.
Sorry.
the laws of logic are-
Definitionally, there aren't things that we can't know before like we know things a priori. Like
What's our priority?
he's just
Is that
talking
like
about like axioms and shit.
afterspect or?
When he's talking about a priori like ideas here, he's just talking about like axioms and shit. Like they're like the reason why we have axioms is because like we can't really fully prove them. Like they're at some point like there is
It's a
only
problem.
so far that we can go that we can describe
It's the
until
problem
like
of
we have to
the
terminate.
the problem, the criterion thing, where
Yeah,
the starting
it's
point
just
of
all a
knowledge
problem with
is,
the criterion.
and technically our starting
Mhm.
points are supposed to be axioms.
Yeah, basically.
Okay.
Like
They're not-
that's where
are not
like
the-
things start. And usually what happens is most people would probably agree on a certain set of rules. And then we could go from there and kind of develop our ideas
Okay.
beyond that.
Things govern the universe. They govern our linguistic understanding of the universe that we interact in. So, does the law of logic predate my understanding of what a father is? Well, I don't know. It comes baked into me understanding the definition of a father and how this definition excludes father from being its own son. If I understand
Earlier-
what the word means.
You guys said that the laws of logic are a linguistic feature. Does that mean they existed before humans could experience them?
No one would have known.
That's
we
not
did.
did they exist though?
Well,
If it's a
Before-
linguistic
before
feature,
there
then
were
it exists
any-
for language.
Okay,
yeah,
so before
to
humans were
be
here-
logically consistent, we have to be able to understand what's happened. So to be able to understand what the laws of logic are, we would have had to have linguistic abilities. So the laws of logic themselves couldn't have existed before our ability to perceive them as laws of logic.
Perfect, and that's the debate. If the laws of logic could not have existed before humans were here, then the Earth could have existed and not existed at the same time, right? In the same way.
No, I don't know how you reached that at all. We know the Earth existed because of science and experimenting and testing and observations. That
then
is
the laws
a
of
part.
logic
Wait, hold on.
exist.
No, that's different to if
See, this is another thing. This is a specific thing I don't really like. He gets into like the really like vague talking points of like, oh, like we know like we exist through like observation, yada yada yada. Like, yes, but at the same time, like one that kind of talking point is overplayed in of itself, but two,
They're just gonna
we
nail you
don't-
on the
it-
origin of knowledge and stuff, right?
yeah, like
And
it,
how do you
it-
truly know?
it doesn't get yeah, it doesn't get to the heart of why we know something. It's not just because like we observed X, Y, and Z. Like there are X amount of things where someone could say, oh, like, are you sure you actually know, or are you just are you not sure about X, Y, and Z? Like you have to terminate your claim of knowledge at some point
Mm-hmm.
before they do, because otherwise they can just dance around this all day, and it'll just get really fucking annoying.
Yeah, so we can't go down that typical route. We kind of have to go down the route of there's things we can be pretty sure about, but we can't absolutely ever actually know anything because even nothing is foolproof, even our forms of measurement, but we can get a pretty good idea, right? Oh, something happened.
Right.
Can you try talking again?
We can't sit here and claim that there's absolute like knowledge, or like leave open for like the idea that there's absolute knowledge without a god. Like at some point you have to sit there and say, all right, like here's what I believe right here, let's go from there, and then let them challenge it from there, instead of
Mhm.
this like, oh, we observe things, like we scientifically go through blah 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 blah, like, because then you open yourself up to that problem of the criterion right there, and they can just sit there and walk all over you.
Yeah.
And then you're on the defensive, and it doesn't look good.
This is why we have to move off the problem of the criterion and push them on their
Mhm.
problem of the criterion, rather than having them focus on us,
Exact-
which is exactly why I want us to come at this from strictly agnostic viewpoint and non-atheist viewpoint, because atheism has the same issues that theism has.
You're
and
still
these-
making a positive claim at the end of the day, and you'd have to prove that, which one leaves you open to defend that.
Well, I would say the positive
and
claim.
two, like if you don't believe it, then it's just like you're wasting time.
Well, the positive claim that we're making here is that God's existence is unknowable, and I think it's pretty relatively self-evident based on the fact that God is literally unknowable because he exists on a completely different realm of existence and all of that kind of stuff, which we kind of go over and everything. And it's their job to prove the contrary. We don't really have to do much besides explain how we cannot measure or verify the existence of God in any kind of capacity ever.
And on top of that, funnily enough, God would also violate the law of like non-contradiction.
Yeah, because of the Holy
Not only
Trinity.
just in like a Trinity, yeah, not just the Holy Trinity, but like going back to like the Bible, like there are contradictions in the Bible where God kind of goes back and forth on something, even, or there are claims that go back and forth in the Bible on certain things. And if your book is divinely inspired and it's supposed to be like completely factual, you end up having claims that are contradicting each other, and they're supposed to both be factual, which violates the laws of non-contradiction, which means that logically, like, the God that made this can't exist. Like that could actually unironically be an argument to go down.
Well, yeah, I mean, you
Yeah,
can make a
like on
logical
the
argument for
empirical
God's
basis.
existence, but what we're arguing is whether God is knowable
Mhm.
or not.
Yeah. Or really, yeah, or
Which is-
whether he that's noble. Like you can't really know a God that is logically impossible.
Hmm. Like there's
'cause-
arguments you can make for God from a logical standpoint, but there's not really an argument you can make for God in terms of whether we can know his existence actually is real or not. You know?
Exactly. Yeah.
There's no actual argument you can make for that. It's all logic based, and a lot of logic that they use is intuition and presupposition at the end of the day.
able
Mhm.
to perceive the laws of logic. You're trying to shoehorn the laws of logic into our ability now to test what happened in the past, and those aren't the same things.
Would you say that our ability to perceive the laws of logic and the laws of logic themselves are different?
Yes.
No, I don't
Okay,
think. Well, I mean, maybe. Hold on. It's the laws of logic are an aspect of our perception, but our perception is a prerequisite for the laws of logic. Now we can
Yes.
walk through them if you want, and we can do a demonstration of how they
So
are language oriented.
Saying
do that?
yes contradicts what you just said, Craig.
No, it doesn't.
You said they did not exist before human minds existed.
Yeah, and
And then you just said that the perception of them and what they are actually different, and that they did exist before the human minds exist.
but the fact that we can perceive them is what allows them to exist.
This
Well,
is
alright,
this
so
is
then
this
before
is
we
tricky.
get to-
You're
before we
making a
get to
tricky
perceive
language
them-
argument. You're
Yeah, it's
making a
called a
tricky
debate
language
tactic.
argument because look,
Yes, I am.
what is this? Here,
You're
play along with
powerful.
me. What is this?
What do
charging
they call those? A charging block. That's a good word for
What's
it.
this?
It's a lighter.
Okay. How do we know that?
Well, I would say that you actually can't, under your worldview, know that.
No, I
Well,
can't under
wait,
your
no,
worldview. Both
explain.
of you made a point of saying
No,
that
because our worldview
knowledge
is true, we
doesn't
can
have to
know
be
that.
guaranteed for it to be knowledge.
No, I think you might have misunderstood that, Dusty. The point that I was making is that however you define knowledge, whether on an infallibilist view or a fallibilist view, both schemes of knowledge rely ultimately on God. See, the fallibilist view
Why?
says you don't. I'm explaining. The fallibilist view says that you don't have to have absolute certainty in order to call a belief knowledge. The infallibilist view says you must have 100% certainty. My point was that whether or not you take a fallibilist view, under which knowledge can be warranted true belief, or you take a infallibilist view, which says you must have justified true belief, either way, you don't have warrant or justification without the triune God of Scripture. Now, Craig, you accused us of trying to shoehorn God into the debate and talk about just look at the trees, which, by the way, trees are beautiful and I think an excellent evidence for God. But that's not our
Sure.
argument.
Wait, hold up. Like, you see what he did there? Like,
I think he's just being snarky
Like-
there, to be entirely fair.
well, specifically the claim that both fallibilists and infallibilists believe that God can only provide knowledge. And the way he reasoned that is because fallibilists believe that humans themselves can't like achieve like a, what's the word I'm looking for, like I guess infallible like level of knowledge. But that, which means that there must be a being that can do that. Like he's shoehorning in God again. And the infallibilist believes the same thing, but they believe in they have a positive belief in a God, or they express a positive belief in a God.
Okay.
You just pigeonholed the fuck into that.
Argument today.
That's a
And you-
presupposition again.
That trees
It-
are beautiful.
it-
Yes, I presuppose the trees
No,
are
no,
beautiful.
it's evidence of God.
The
That's
point,
the
one second,
presupposition,
hold
and
that
that's
thought one second.
well,
The
okay,
point
sorry,
is that you
go on.
misread what you did was you came in thinking we were going to make a particular argument. Maybe you got thrown off by the presupposition
didn't.
that we brought. Well, either way, it seemed like you did. And the point is not that we're
that's a
defining
problem.
knowledge. That we're defining knowledge one way or the other. What we're saying is, however you define knowledge, you can't have knowledge without God, and that's what we've demonstrated in our opening statements. Does
But that
make
is a
sense?
presupposition. That you,
Yeah.
yeah, you're just saying God exists
Which
because
we
I
don't-
say God
You made a
exists.
claim, but you haven't demonstrated it shit, really. I mean,
Well, we both did make arguments.
Well,
and I can
yeah,
provide
wait,
it.
hold on 1 second. 1 second. You just said we did demonstrate that God existed. Could you
We
demonstrate
provided
that God?
arguments. I said.
Well, no. That's not proving that God exists. An argument that
So you
God
can't
exists
prove
isn't
things that-
demonstrated. You know, when I'm talking, that's the
I'm
middle of
sorry.
my sentence. Yeah.
don't apologize.
I-
Danny, you're fair.
in fact,
Lord.
I do apologize that the middle of my sentence interrupted the beginning of yours. That's
Not a problem.
incredibly rude of me.
apologize
Yeah,
to everyone
the
apologizing.
whole argument comes down
Yeah,
to
the-
making the presupposition that
he's
God
starting to
exists.
get
God exists,
big
therefore knowledge is
mad.
required. I
Yeah.
reject the presupposition that God exists.
on.
Knowledge comes from our observation of. No, hold on, I'm going to finish. Our knowledge comes from our observation of the universe around us, and that comes from our ability as a species, which comes from evolution, which can all exist without your presupposition of a God.
Alex, you want to respond to that?
Well, there are lots of problems with that. I don't think you
I can
represented my
build on it.
argument. I don't think you represented my argument well. But I just real quick, you said that our knowledge comes from observations, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
and what do
observation,
you use-
experience,
what do you use to make
experimentation.
observations.
My eyes, my
Okay,
senses.
And how do you know that your senses are reliable enough to give you true data about the world?
That is
no,
a
I
good
don't-
question. That's why we have various systems of measurement that independently verify things outside of our senses. Like we literally have sensors and cameras and stuff that will detect colors for us in case we're like colorblind or something like that. And it'll objectively determine what color something is independent of
Mhm.
what we see, you know? Like we do have these things already that do it by themselves, independent of us. That's the entire point of tools and measurement devices. Like you can be pretty sure you poured 3/4 cup of milk into your brownie mix, but that's why we have cups
Mhm.
with measuring labels on it. That way we can be definitively sure that is actually 3/4 milk.
Just use my sense.
Exactly.
Indeed.
I would use tools. I would use scientific
Indubitably.
methodology.
Okay,
You know, I
and
would,
those
I
tools
would,
are
I would, I would, I would ask a question.
Yeah, like,
I would
and
form a
even then,
hypothesis,
it's
I
not
would
like it's
create a
never
prediction, I would
exact.
test
There's
that
always
prediction.
like some like level of uncertainty, and
Yeah,
that
like,
just
maybe you're not
comes
at
with
the-
that just comes with the usage of tools. At the end of the day, that is a feature of just measurement tools in general. Like
There's-
even our own eyes, we're not really certain about certain things. Like things can look closer than they actually appear. Yada yada. Like there's all
Always
sorts
that
of way to kind of approach this.
there's always that like 0.1% that your measurements and stuff are wrong. But in terms of like colloquial usage of knowing stuff, I think we are pretty close to being sure that it is this thing or it is that thing or that measurement is right or wrong or whatever. Like colloquially speaking, we're not just going to say, oh yeah, I'm 99% sure that this is 3/4 cup of milk. Colloquially speaking, we're just going to say, yeah, that's a 3/4 cup
That's
of
about
milk.
3/4.
Yeah. Like we do have to take into consideration when we're speaking like generally versus when we're being philosophical as well, because there's a difference between generally speaking about knowledge and the philosophical ins and outs of knowledge. You know, we do have to take that into
Exactly.
consideration as well, and that's something that we'll probably have to clarify as well, just because we're probably going to be speaking from a colloquial standpoint in layman's terms a lot of the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Especially because that'll resonate with the audience a lot more than speaking in big know-how terms like Monus Pubis or whatever.
Experiment, I
those
would then
things
form
don't matter
analysis
in
on
music.
the middle of my sentence.
Monus
I would
pubis.
Yeah,
form-
I was
I-
saying,
middle of my-
you did ask a question, Alex.
Hey, it'll be our inside joke.
You asked the question. At least let him finish answering it.
It'll look
I
so
would perform analysis
dumb,
on my.
but I'm down for it.
I don't
Like,
even
what the
say
fuck
it
are they-
right.
What the fuck are they talking about? Like Monus pubis. The fuck?
My favorite philosophy term.
On my data from my experiment, and then I would see
Monus
where that comes and see if I need
pubis.
to do any more experimentation and observations. Not just my eyes, not just my senses. They are part of what I use. Tools are available thanks to the fact that we have developed as a species. We use those tools to test the world around us.
Okay, and everything you just listed also relies on your senses to operate.
Data from my experiment, and then I would see where that comes and see if I need to do any more experimentation and observations. Not just my eyes, not just my senses. They are part of what I use. Tools are available thanks to the fact that we have developed as a species. We use those tools to test the world around us.
Okay, and everything you just listed also relies on your senses to operate, right?
Well, we need our senses and our abilities
our-
and our muscle
That's
memory
our
and yes, our
information intake
senses.
methods, right?
Yes.
All right. So again, you can't use any of those to prove that your senses are reliable because that would be a circular argument.
I think what you're trying to do is demonstrate that we can't know.
Well, yeah, that's why you also have other people verifying it around you. And while you can never be like 100% exactly, you can be 99% sure that these things are the way they are, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, of course, hallucinations and stuff exist, but most of the time you're probably not hallucinating. Colloquially speaking, the certainty is there enough to the point where we could just say we know it.
Exactly.
Like this is where it just gets pedantic, and I think they're being that way purposefully, and to shoehorn their God in there.
Here's a good little pedantic question. Like, did God reveal to you like the 3/4 cup measurement? Like,
Hell yeah, dude. God revealed to you through Aristotle that 3/4 cup of milk is indeed 3/4 cup of milk.
anything for sure.
exactly.
That is correct.
Not that God
Oh,
exists.
no,
Your argument
actually,
demonstrates that we can't know anything for sure. I would agree
given
with that.
your own
actually.
worldview, yes. Given your
Yeah,
worldview,
but,
What is my
I wanna-
worldview?
I wanna point
What's
out
my
the flaw,
worldview?
actually.
Hold on. Before you've done that 2 times now. Could you define my worldview, please?
the negation of the proposition that God is necessary for knowledge. Any worldview that
Okay.
that involves that.
I fucking hate how he uses terms like that. The negation of the proposition. Speak like a normal person, please. Fucking hate when people do that.
Which I assume you hold,
Mhm.
otherwise.
I
maybe
do.
come out
Yeah,
with-
I'm content with that.
Okay. Yeah. So it's not that you can't know things. Actually, I brought that up in my opening statement. It's that you do know things, but you do so inconsistently. You hold two contradictory beliefs. The two beliefs are this: one, God is there, and two, that you don't believe that, which I assume you hold. Otherwise,
I
maybe
do.
come out
Yeah,
with-
I'm content with that.
Yeah. So it's not that you can't know things. Actually, I brought that up in my opening statement. It's that you do know things, but you do so inconsistently. You hold two contradictory beliefs. The two beliefs are this: one, God is there, and two, that you don't believe in Him. Those are
How do
they're not.
we hold the first one?
No, no.
Well,
excuse me,
yeah,
no,
that's
neither of us-
exactly why I'm not an atheist, because we can't verify that God is real or isn't real, and I feel that as just as irrational as the theist stance. And he did correctly
Mhm.
point that out, admittedly, that it's kind of hypocritical of him to be asserting he knows all this stuff and then takes the atheist stance where it's unknowable from his perspective.
Mm-hmm.
us think that God is there.
No, I understand that you believe explicitly. You hold forth the proposition that you don't believe in God, but your very act of reasoning, of engaging in predication, you're very engaging in this debate today. This is what we showed in our opening statements. Reveals that you tacitly or surreptitiously believe in God, or at least are willing.
Well,
to
no,
act
that's just a
as though
massive
God- One
assumption.
second, the middle of
Let
my
him
sentence
finish,
just
Greg.
interrupted your interruption, or however you put it. You have to
It's learning
surreptitiously or tacitly act as if you're actually on this side. So what you're doing is you're standing on your foundation while you're denying that God is necessary for knowledge, but then you sneakily come over to our side of the fence in order to attempt to use the laws of logic or attempt to appeal.
What would
to
our argument look
reliable
like if we
truth-seeking
were
factors.
all the way on our
Adam?
side? Sorry. I mean, but what would the argument look from our side if we were all the way on our side? Do you think?
That's an excellent question. You could not make a coherent argument, which is why.
Okay,
you
but this again, this just comes back
Tell
to
me
the
about it.
presupposition of God existing, because you're saying that we are saying that
I feel
we
like he's
acknowledge,
getting
therefore God
angry.
exists. No, I reject your presupposition that God exists.
You
I
can,
can tell
I think you can kind of see him shaking a little bit as well.
you
Yep.
exactly
Yeah, you
acknowledge-
can tell where he visibly gets angry. Like,
Yeah.
and it oftentimes gets exploited. I think he had a debate with Andrew Wilson actually. he just, like,
Oh
crashed the fuck out on
no.
Yeah, like Andrew Wilson's like what he is really good at is just
Getting
fucking
under people's
rage baiting the
skins.
fuck out of people. Like, yeah,
Yep.
he knows how to make people angry because it's a good rhetorical tool.
It
Like,
is
look how
indeed.
unreasonable this guy looks right here. He's getting stupid mad.
That needs to be a fallacy. There has to be a name for that fallacy of piss the other guy off so much that you look reasonable fallacy.
In some spaces it's considered like you can tell where it's happening, where it's really obvious.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, no, it looks really dishonest, but most people don't care. Most audience aren't going to give a shit.
True.
But it's just
It just
evolution, and our
looks
senses
really good if you make the other person angry.
Yeah.
isn't everything. And again, the presupposition that we use our senses, therefore it must be God, is wrong. We can test if our senses are correct using
How
the
do you do that?
scientific method. Using the scientific method, we can
Okay,
test
in
if our
order to
senses are
read-
correct. If you ask me a question,
I
then
think he's using the scientific method incorrectly here, or over relying on it. Honestly,
He's relying too much on like
Yeah.
on utilizing that as like the foundation for knowledge. The scientific method's not a foundation for knowledge in a sense where it's like
it's
you
used
can-
to evolve knowledge.
it's used to, I guess, make new like scientific knowledge.
That's why I would say evolve, because it takes current knowledge that we already have and then tries to prove that it's not true to evolve that knowledge to a new stance, kind of thing. Kind of like what we do with like food, for example. We constantly test food and see its effects on people and see if our previous preconceived notions are wrong and stuff. Like apparently, like let's take the fitness industry would actually be a great example of this, especially the science lifting space of the fitness industry, where it's constantly like, a new study says this that flies in the face of all of our knowledge. Oh my gosh, this is revolutionary. That must mean all the previous science was wrong, and stuff like that. Is kind of what the scientific method is supposed to do.
respond.
Yeah,
You
but
can-
it's not necessarily like a I guess basis for knowledge.
Oh yeah, for
But
sure.
it is
yeah.
a really good tool. It is a tool to gain new knowledge.
Yeah.
test. I was in the middle of talking. I can't be. We can test our senses.
Oh my
We can test our
gosh.
senses using the scientific method to see if our senses are correct. That's why I wear glasses, because these senses suck. So we use the scientific method to test my senses and correct them using tools. None of that required God. You're just assuming a deity is required for knowledge to happen.
You can see
But
on their
knowledge is
faces, they're
gained, it's
loving this.
experience.
The conclusions that you get from using the scientific method, how do you observe those?
Using
same
my-
way that
my
you
eyes.
observe-
Yes,
Yeah,
alright,
I
so
figured
that's what you
it.
observe
Oh
religion. I mean,
god
that's
damn
not-
it! Not that kind of shit, dude. Oh my gosh. I use my eyes, dingus. Oh no. Oh no.
I have divine revelation. I don't know if you guys saw that or not, but God just told me we're right.
So,
Yeah, but
so
I've used
you
it
want
to answer
see
the
debate?
question. To answer the
Real
question.
quick,
let me
Dusty
answer-
just said
wait,
something.
It's a question. Let me answer the
Craig,
question.
Craig,
Hold on.
Craig,
All
we
right,
need to acknowledge
Craig,
what just happened. Craig said that
Well, I need
God
to answer
just
the
gave,
question.
Dusty just said that God gave him knowledge. Dusty, come on over to our side. And
Was
it'll be
my
the three of
I-
us.
I-
against
slash
Craig.
I
Bush.
apologize
I mean,
for
that's
not
the
lathering
debate.
enough sarcasm onto that statement.
Yeah, is sarcasm not something you recognize, or
I thought that,
mean,
listen, I can recognize sarcasm, but
Clearly not.
he and
so you interrupted me.
Oh,
asking a
he's
question, so
hanging
I'm
up.
not
That's
recognizing
petty.
sarcasm. Is that right?
Correct.
Yeah, that's my name.
my,
Yeah.
Wear it out.
one second. My invitation
Yeah,
to
you can
Dusty
keep
coming
saying
over
my
to our
name.
side
It's not going to
was
change.
Yeah,
It
he's
just does,
pissed.
and that is it.
Dusty
Right, so,
statement
right,
he
yeah,
received
Joe,
revelation.
Oh,
Joe,
okay, stop.
Joe,
Everybody stop.
Joe,
Hold on for a
Dusty's
second.
serious.
Stop.
Joe,
stop.
Joe.
Now, we all know Flow State and how sarcastic. He puts a pope hat on sometimes. Like,
that
he's a
was
total
funny.
asshole when it comes to the God stuff. Anybody in
stuff?
the crowd would already know that. Anybody listening and anybody that's observed him prior to that. He's a sarcastic little shit. This is what he does. There you go. So, yes, he spent a whole day talking about how God revealed
I
him.
love
So,
it.
Oh,
I love how
you're
she's
working
like,
at this,
there,
thank
there,
you,
there,
thank you.
there. Like,
Thank you.
Yeah.
Is
Right,
it time for the tithing?
I would like to get back to a couple of things Craig said in his opening statement. You said
Well,
if
wait,
God was
I have questions
demonstrated.
for you.
We can get to
Yeah.
questions, I promise. I have just a couple things. You said if it was, and I forget exactly what you said, so correct me if I'm wrong. You said if it was demonstrated that God exists, we wouldn't be on the internet debating it, right?
Yeah, no. If God came down and showed and was here and did some miracles and proved that he was real, you and I would not be on the internet debating whether God existed. You would be collecting your Nobel Prize.
Has it been demonstrated beyond a shadow of a doubt that the Earth is not flat?
Yes, 100%.
And why do you debate it on
Oh
the
god
internet?
damn it.
Oh, because it's fun.
oh
No.
wait, yeah, no, this is fine. This is beyond a shadow of a doubt was the caveat right there.
Oh yeah,
Like,
that,
there's not a reasonable doubt that would make the Earth like flat unless you want to argue that we live in a simulation and or like everything that would correspond with the round Earth theory is actually just a fucking lie.
that
and
is a good
it's
catch
actually
in
completely
rhetoric
different.
there, because I was gonna say we can't know for certain, but beyond a reasonable doubt is not the same thing as
Yeah,
knowing
beyond
for
a reasonable
certain.
doubt is a great criteria for sure. It's used in
We
courtrooms and
should
all
use that.
shit.
We need to write that down. That our criteria for knowledge is based in whether it's beyond a reasonable doubt. Does that sound pretty good for
not
basis
not
of
all
knowledge?
not all of it, but
Mm.
but a good portion of it can be that way. Yes.
Like take my wallet here. Take my phone here that's on stream right now. I'm holding it in front of my face. Is it beyond a reasonable doubt that I'm holding my phone right now, kind of thing?
There's just good reason to know or to say that like you're holding your phone. Like
Mhm.
there's no evidence against it either, by the way.
Yeah,
There
that
there is no
true.
good evidence against it.
I mean, besides the fact
And
that
the
it's on
same
my
thing with,
table
like-
now.
Yeah, well, yeah, same thing with like the round earth flat earth debate. Like there is no good evidence for the flat earth.
Yeah.
Like yeah, there could be evidence, but it's just wrong usually. It's
Yeah.
usually based upon a misunderstanding of physics,
It's
of
measurably
observations.
and
Like,
provably false what their arguments
Yeah.
are.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, because there is ridiculously stupid people that have an IQ smaller than their shoe size, and dunking on them and being able to use that as a platform to teach real
See,
physics.
yeah,
is
here,
hilariously
right
He's-
here.
Yeah.
This is where his rhetoric completely breaks down right here. He's just name calling and shit. Like he looks so bad doing this. Like
He comes across as very normy to me. Like, it's so stupid, dingus. We have pictures of the Earth being round and stuff like that. He gives me such normie vibes. Like he's new to this,
He
kinda.
he comes off as a normie. Like the problem is he's been doing flat Earth debates for a long time too. Like
Oh.
at least a few years. Like that's just his style. He just comes off as a normie.
Damn.
Like I don't think he's not particularly great at it, but when he does get under people's skin, it works really well.
Mhm.
He just has a really niche style that is one polarizing and two like I don't not that all that effective really rhetorically.
Damn.
Like even where he wins, it's just it's usually because the opponent looks more unhinged.
Got it.
I would say the same, but I don't want to be rude.
I mean,
there's
okay,
two more
let's hold on,
things
hold on,
to
hold on. We
agree
can apply that. We can apply that same question though to God really
do you
easily.
mean?
Has God been
Yeah.
demonstrated beyond a reasonable
Well,
doubt?
I wouldn't make that
No.
argument.
Nobody.
I'm
Yeah,
not-
of course
You
not.
wouldn't make that
wouldn't-
argument, then how are you even arguing that?
yeah.
What?
Uh-oh.
If you can't even if you can't even prove beyond a reasonable doubt that God is real, how are you arguing for God at all then?
It's
What the fuck?
yeah, this is where at this point, yeah, they've lost right here. They can't prove God without a shadow of a doubt. Like they've lost here.
Honestly, that would be a great
I
opening
consider-
question. That would be an amazing opening question because once they say no, then it's like debate over. You lost. Oh man, write that down. Write that down.
Wouldn't make
Legit,
the argument that
Like how are you gonna come into a debate saying, "Oh yeah, God definitely exists," and then argue like this? Like, fuck me. Like
I'm gonna ask that. That's gonna be
God.
the very first question I'm gonna ask. Can you prove God is real without beyond a reasonable doubt? And when they say no, or if they say no, dude, it's over for them. Like right there, right on the spot. It won't. I can't imagine how unfathomably stupid you have to be to say that early in a debate. If I ask that question,
we shouldn't be debating it if it's been demonstrated.
yeah.
Because I think people can be
Okay.
self-deluded.
and they just let him run away with it. Like he just admitted he
Mhm.
can't prove God exists, and they're just letting him run away with it.
Yep.
So you found a tangent to try to win on because you can't win
Yeah,
on the main.
I-
the main
I-
topic.
Hold
I-
him to
I-
that,
we
man. What the
we just take
fuck?
us back to the
W-
base, the
Well,
very
you said that during
foundation
your
of
opening
this.
statement. Sorry, go ahead.
Did
Yeah,
they
I
just
will-
completely
I
skip over
can't-
that?
No, I they might be coming back to it. Hold on. If
Hopefully.
Craig can come back to it, like he can really hammer this. Hopefully.
Well,
Can we-
allow me for just a
Just I can
second,
hope he
gentlemen,
does.
because Alex and Joel, you do have the affirmative side, so technically all of the questions should be coming.
Oh, something happened to my headset. 1 second.
You can't,
Okay, there we go.
cross-examine.
No, they
and
should be
it's
the ones
allowable,
asking
but
questions. You
most
can't
of
dodge
the
this.
bulk of the questions should be coming from you
Yes.
in this conversation.
Can
Just
you hear
as
me?
a wherewithal. Okay, Craig, to you.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Cool.
you keep going back to
Something is going on with my headset right now. Where's my mouse? Okay, give me 1 second. Something weird is happening with my computer where can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, just making sure because I saw your thing moving. For some reason my sound is going in and out a little bit. And my mouth disappeared for a second. I don't know what's happening. Okay. Everything should be good now.
how does that go back to knowledge comes from God?
Actually, I have some medication, so I'm gonna go take. So I'll be right back, but I'll let you guys continue watch this.
Craig, I actually addressed that in my opening statement. So I've already anticipated all your questions and your arguments so far. When I spoke in my opening statement about those second tier beliefs that are gained through our sense experience, the other experiences that we have, our perhaps our intuition, you might want to put in there as well. But these are the beliefs that we are not certain about, that we can.
How do we gain
All we
first
can
tier?
say, one second, all we can say is that they are warranted. But for warrant to obtain, meaning for us to justifiably say that we have warrant, there must be certain conditions that must be met. For example, our truth-seeking faculties must be functioning reliably. They must be operating according to a design plan aimed at truth, and they must
That's
be.
again, that's a presupposition. You are just making a
Let him
presupposition.
let him finish, though.
Hold
Let
on.
him
Craig,
finish.
I know that that's inflammatory to you, but this is the definition of what it
No,
means
it's
to
not.
have.
No, it's
Oh,
not the
well,
definition.
this is the definition of what it means to have warrants. If you want to come up with another one, that's okay. But I
Well,
will
how do you get
finish
your first level
and then
knowledge?
you
That would be
can
my
talk about it.
question.
So
You're
you have
saying
to
that
so the truth-seeking faculties, including our sense experience, must be reliable, must be functioning according to design in a propitious or a favorable environment. Now, if you want to say, oh, sure, the design is evolutionary, it's unguided, it's time and chance acting on matter over millions and billions of years, we'll still
There we
count
go,
that as a design plan. The
I
point
agree
is,
we can't know anything for sure.
Let him
right?
finish.
Okay, so hold on, because
So I want
it's
to point
another
out,
thing.
Joel,
One
that
second, Craig.
you've
So the
talked for
point,
about 6.5
Craig,
years and you haven't answered
thank
my
you.
question. So maybe I can
Thank you. I'm
reiterate my
gonna talk
question.
for
Hold on,
just
hold
a
on, hold
little
on,
bit more,
because
Craig.
he has been interrupted continuously. So this is like the third time he's been interrupted, which is probably going to extend his time even more. So let him finish his thought, and then Craig and Flo, you can rally back behind him.
Okay, so Craig, here's the main issue, the main problem of several that you are presenting tonight. You want to make knowledge solely about the deliverances of your sense data, but you have to presuppose the reliability of your sense data in order to test your sense data. That we call a vicious circle. Without God, that is what you are left with. And so, yes, to answer Dusty's question, and I'm glad that he agrees with me on this, you can't know anything for.
There's a way to get out of this infinite regress, or not infinite regress, circularity right here. And it's that the sense data is reliable because you know that you're real. In a certain way, in a certain sense, you understand that you are an actual like being capable of like perceiving these things, and you actually exist. And that you can also caveat this in knowing that it's not 100% reliable or absolutely reliable. This is what I think what's his face over here is relying on here. Like, we're not saying that knowledge, we're not saying that we have absolute knowledge because our sense data is absolutely reliable. Like, what we could do to kind of get out of this a little bit is we can test our sense data to some degree, and we can get a good grounding for how reliable it is at a given moment in a given scenario, and then we go from there. And then where we know we're not reliable, we have other means by which we can achieve some type of knowledge outside of that. Like, there's just other methodologies basically. But what homeboy over here is not doing is really getting into that, because he knows that it would fail.
Certain, even that knowledge comes from your sense data.
No, even that God exists. How do you get the first level of knowledge then if it's not through your senses experiences?
Sorry, are you guys not going to respond? Are you just going to concede the point that I just made?
No, I'm going to ask the question that I was stuck on a long time ago before you flew your plane around the block.
I was responding directly to his question.
Okay, I don't even remember what his question was. Can you answer?
I do want to point out that you didn't answer my question. You just presupposed God is the reason that we have senses.
That's what you.
That's literally all you've done. You've just gone, well, how do we know that our senses are right? Well, we have to have a base for that. Therefore, God. No, again, our senses come from the evolution and our ability to test.
Where they come from God, wherever they come from, it doesn't matter. But how?
Wait, hold up. He's saying something.
How do we get first level knowledge if it's not the way we get all other kinds of knowledge?
Dusty, you keep conceding the debate. Do you know that you're doing that? You just said, or they come from.
Can you answer the question instead of like do the theatrics? Like, I'm not going to fall.
No
falling for
it. This is a debate, Dusty. You're supposed to come.
I understand that. I understand that. And what I'm asking you is, how do you get the first level knowledge?
Okay, I so want to talk about that, but that's
it's a hard one to answer, isn't it?
It's not a hard one. I literally
because
demonstrated it in my opening statement. But we're talking about sense data, and it would be so. I mean, if you just want to concede that sense data devolves into absolute, complete and total question begging circular reasoning without God, that's fine. We can move on to primary.
No, it doesn't, because again, we can use the.
Oh God, is this? Yeah, every viewpoint's just going to devolve into hard solipsism. Good job. You've pointed out the issue with all fucking frameworks. Like, wow, you're very smart for discovering what hard solipsism is. Now do that with your fucking worldview, please. Like, how do we know that God is actually the person who's revealing all knowledge to you? He could be lying to you. You don't know that he's not lying to you. You just assume that without any like reasons. Also, holy shit. If you're watching the Bones of Doom stream, I'm currently getting mogged by like 4 guys. But that's not the there, but
I am back.
Yeah, like, yeah.
One sec. Oh wait, shit. I forgot my water bottle. Give me 1 sec.
Right now, the theist, you actually can't have knowledge. You keep saying that you can know things, but like how do you know for certain? Like we're getting back into this, and they're saying, oh, like infinitely regresses, or like goes into like a circularity. Like no, like that's just what hard solipsism is. At some point, like at some point, there are things that just terminate with knowledge that you can't really like figure out. Like they're just doing the same problem over and over again, and it's not really being addressed. Like they just keep doing like, well, the atheists can't know anything either because they don't have any absolute knowledge.
Dude, I'm gonna go on
That's
a
it.
fucking. I'm gonna have to go on a fucking rant soon, dude. I'm seeing more reviews come in for fucking 28 years later. Angry Joe gave an 8 out of 10. How the fuck are people liking this movie, man? Oh my god.
Maybe just don't understand, man. You just don't understand the way.
How do
Oh,
people?
fuck.
I don't understand it. He's one of the last people I'd expect to like this fucking film. It's so slow. Oh my gosh. I feel like I'm gonna just be in the hot take minority on this one. Holy shit.
Maybe you might have to debate everyone in the movie sphere.
Tell me about it, man.
Speaking of getting like mogged right now, I'm getting mogged in game right now. I almost died.
Oh man. Okay.
I've just been. There's a new fucking weapon I have to deal with that just eats through or it doesn't even like target shields. It just hits my health bar.
Damn.
I
Okay.
can't just shield my way through things.
Let's continue this, and then I might have. I
Yeah.
might genuinely have to go on a fucking rant after this stream, because oh my
Word.
god, I hate the movie sphere right now. I don't understand it, man. I'm genuinely at a fucking loss. Go watch this movie and tell me if I'm crazy, please.
Heard.
Okay, let's get back to this right now, though.
Scientific method which uses iterative testing to be able to narrow down what our experiences are.
Yes,
So
and
again,
also-
let me finish. We never have exact knowledge 100% what's happening. Now, do I see blue the same as you see blue? No. Who knows if that's the case? Is it a particular wavelength of light? Yes. We can get this data and know these things without having to presuppose anything before. We can test it and we can go with what our closest answers are to what our senses get, and then we can compare that to reality. Once we compare it to reality, we can see if our senses are right or not. None of that requires a god or circular reasoning. Iterative testing is not circular reasoning.
Did I not just demonstrate to you that that was circular reasoning? Would you like me to do it again?
No.
So the problem is that Craig doesn't understand like philosophy. They're like he doesn't have like he doesn't understand the basis of that epistemology all that well.
Yeah.
I don't think he understands it entirely.
Craig?
Because at some point, knowing things has to terminate somewhere. Like what he's saying is that they can absolutely terminate somewhere, and science just does not have that ability to. All we can really do is tell like what isn't the case, or like what theories are really wrong, or what ideas are wrong, and where we've kind of grown since then,
Yep.
and what ideas haven't been really disproved.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's kind of fallen into this like trap so hard, and it just doesn't look good.
Yep.
I'll repeat it
I would
again.
like somebody to
Iterative
answer my
testing.
question.
That definitely answers question.
What is the
Just
answer to my
remember,
question? How do you get level 1
iterative
knowledge?
is
I'm not conceding level 2 knowledge. I will say that what you're making a case for is that we can't know anything for sure, and that is correct.
Under
That
your
is correct.
Yeah.
Now under everyone's worldview, you guys give into the impulse of humans to know things, to know the unknown. The fact of the matter is there is unknown. There is unknown. We don't have to know everything for it to exist. That would be solipsistic of us. That'd be quite anti-Christian. That'd be actually. How do we get first level knowledge?
Well, real quick, do you know what the principle of explosion is? Because
Don't
you
real
just
quit
said
me. No. You guys have
You
been
just
real
said that.
quicking
I
for
can
about
answer the
10 minutes
question.
now. No, I'm not.
Just
No,
real
I'm
quick,
gonna
let me
filibuster the fuck out of you
Let me answer
until
this
you tell
question,
me how you get first level fucking knowledge.
Would you like to answer this, Joel? I can if you want.
Okay, just
Neither
real
of them want
quick.
to answer it.
All right, yeah.
No,
so
not real quick.
Dusty,
Just real quick.
Dusty, I'm trolling you a little bit. I
Put the hat
apologize.
back on.
I apologize. That's fine. You troll me. I troll.
apologize
I'm not
for me,
Catholic, so you can wear that hat. I actually think it's great. Okay, so first level knowledge, as I explained in my opening,
Nice.
first level knowledge refers to those beliefs which are certain, which we absolutely do know for certain. And I just want to point out. So hear me on this, because I know you're going to want to cut in here, but just hear me. I am going to make a complete.
Because you're
point.
not going to answer the question.
I
correctly. You're gonna
just called it.
You're
Let
taking
him
the
go,
long ass way around the
Flo.
block.
I called
Let
it.
him Flo. Let
Dusty,
him go.
All right, fine.
Listen.
I'll let you fly your plane around the block, but if it doesn't land on,
You're
on
not
something
going to let me
I
fly
asked,
my plane.
you owe
I'm
me
already
$20.
I'm in the pilot seat. Listen, the first level knowledge these are the beliefs that we can be and are certain about. And you just said a second ago, you said we don't know anything for certain. The fact of the matter is, which obviously that's contradictory. Like we don't know anything for certain, and here's a fact. All right, unless you look, if you're not going to know anything for certain, don't tell me what the facts are. But when we're talking about those beliefs that that are certain, like the laws of logic, like moral absolutes, like the principles of mathematics, like our own existence. The reason why we can know these things for certain, and the reason why we do know these things for certain, is because, now hold on a second, because you're gonna want to interrupt again. I'm calling it. The reason why, that's fine, you're muted. Good, smart. The reason why is because this is an internal critique of Christianity now, is because God reveals those things to us such that we can be certain. And if you want to know how he does it in two ways: by his works and by his word. Look, Craig, we're not going to get anywhere.
By his works and by his word. Okay, there we go. Here's the
That-
empirical claims right here. Then you have
son
to.
of a
He has to
bitch.
go into the Bible at this point. Yeah, he has to go into the fucking Bible.
I fucking hate this shit, man,
That's
so
the-
much. Oh yeah,
You keep
God
doing that,
reveals
and I'm
it to us. That's how we're certain. Prove it then, please, because as far as I'm concerned, you're just as confident as the atheist, but backwards.
So like, how is it that God revealed it to you, not fucking Vishnu? Fucking.
How's it that God revealed to
Like-
you that Trump is the second coming of Christ and going to save our country? What if God
And
wanted you to
furthermore,
vote
like,
Kamala
how
the
did
entire
God
time?
reveal to you that like this is what 3/4 of a cup is? Like, we can just go back to that shit too.
Yeah.
Surprised you haven't said
Like, we
Sky
could
Daddy,
just
by the
we
way.
could just
Good
be
on you for not
so
saying Sky Daddy.
fucking
You're a grown man.
memey
But
about
look,
it.
I mean,
Fuck yeah, dude. We'll be diva about it.
This
It is ridiculous you believe
This
in Sky
Bible.
Daddy.
There it is. You
Hold on.
fell right
Oh,
into it.
son of
let
a...
him-
He brought the fucking Bible out too? Oh my gosh.
Dude, let him get the whole thing out so that
We-
then he can stop.
We're gonna land the
obfuscating.
plane. We're gonna land the
Joel,
plane.
I'm packing my parachute up. Land that plane quickly.
Fine. Okay, I will do it. I'll say it very simply. God reveals these things to us such that we can be certain in two ways. One, by his works, which includes us, the internal testimony of our conscience and our reasoning, and by this book right here. This is called the Bible. In this Bible, God gives us a certain worldview, which includes a metaphysical and epistemological scheme with God at the foundation.
There's 45,000 different
Uh-oh.
worldviews from that fucking one book alone, buddy boy. And which one is supposed to be right? How are you supposed to know that?
of it by which we can and do
Damn.
know things for certain. You know
Why aren't
things
you a Catholic? Why maybe not a evangelical?
for certain. We know things for certain. We just acknowledge that God is necessary for that certain knowledge.
No, you made the presupposition that God is necessary.
Yes,
That's what we
About
exactly.
the impossibility
That
of
is
the
true.
contrary, because as we can see, both of you just conceded the debate by saying we cannot know anything for certain.
No,
That
that's
is
not.
itself a
That's
contradiction.
no, that's not a concession.
How's that a
That is
That's
concession?
not, wait, that's not a concession.
What the
That's
fuck?
not a concession.
That's the entire
What?
point.
Is God required for knowledge? Is the premise of the debate, everyone. That is the debate premise. I don't know what they mean by concession here, but that's definitely not what that is.
Science works.
You're
Science works.
can't know
actually
anything for certain.
conceding the debate because you saying you can't know anything. Like that's their point.
Oh my gosh.
What? Like what?
We are entering the shit zone.
Peak retard moment right here.
Fuck yeah.
You know that for
Uh,
certain?
I was talking.
Oh,
Sky
okay,
Wars.
I see.
Wrong
See,
answer.
this
Oh,
is,
I was
this is,
talking-
this is what happens when you define reality as a
Contradiction.
linguistic function. You think reality is a linguistic function, and so that's why you think that this is a
I know
gotcha.
you guys
So,
don't
okay,
think laws of
okay,
contradiction
I
exist
see
in
the
what
linguistic
you
trick
said,
you did
but
because
they apply to us.
your whole world is linguistic. But I
Yours
mean, I guess I
is
caught me a little off guard because I thought Christians wanted to know the truth. I didn't
You
think that
said
they
they
were
were
trying to depend on gimmicks to demonstrate.
Yeah.
I guess
That's
you guys
not
are
good
not believing
look.
God.
Not a good
Listen,
look.
All right, listen, you
Okay,
guys
right.
don't
Let me
understand
ask.
the
Wait, hold on. Let me ask a
explosion
question.
is.
Let me ask a very simple question. Let me ask a very simple question. How do we know our senses work?
God
Have-
reveals it to us such that we can reasonably, most oftentimes, rely on our senses. And if you really want to know why,
no,
hold on, it's
uh,
because Genesis 1:27.
Okay, no, we know our senses work because we can test them. If I see a car coming, I move out of the way and I don't get hit. That's how I know my senses work because I can
How do you know
reliably
you didn't
test
get
them
hit?
in the. Excuse me.
How do you know you didn't get hit?
Because
Oh my god. Oh boy. We're going into that territory now.
I studied physics,
Your senses?
and I can, if I know the position and direction and velocity of any particle at any time, I can predict the future with it. So I knew for a fact
Well,
if I
we'll get
didn't get
into
out of the
that.
way, I
We'll
would have
get
been
into that
hit.
for
I would have got hit. So I can test my senses by not getting hit by moving out of the way as my senses told me to.
How do you know that
That-
your sense data is reliable?
Because I didn't get hit by the car.
It's fair. Just keep running this.
How do you know that the Bible's reliable?
That's
How do you know the
crazy.
Bible's reliable?
Possibility of the contrary. I gave a
possibility.
syllogism in my opening.
You don't even do the. Please push him on
You
what impossibility of the contrary even means.
It doesn't mean anything really.
That's something we're gonna
he's
have to
just-
push
it's
them
a
on because
pre-
that's something they're gonna be bringing up a lot, and we have to absolutely
that's
drill them
just
on
the
that.
claim. Because it can't be otherwise. That's it. Like what they're doing is they're just asserting like there can only be two worldviews, and that's the Christian God worldview, specifically theirs, and no God worldview.
We're gonna really have to push
That's
them
what
on
they're
how
doing.
it's impossible and to demonstrate its impossibility.
All you have to do is propose a different God, and
Oh,
by
lost
that
connection.
point, oh shit.
Okay, now you are sharing. You gotta give us both. Okay, everybody can edit the playlist and everything. Cool.
Statement that was
But
Okay.
Yeah. Oh wait, that's right. I already have a fucking thing locked and loaded. The flying spaghetti monster. What if
Yeah, it's
I
just
start? What
you're-
if I go grab the Pastafarian Bible? It says everything the Bible says word for word, except replace all the biblical lore aspects with the Pastafarian aspects, and now my Bible is just as credible as yours. Right?
you could also go with like the Hindu texts. Like those are like that's just like another example that you could use. You could go with. You could even go with the Jewish God. To be honest, like
Or
the
the.
Jewish God's also revelatory.
hmm
It's the same. It's the same God, but
They claim not to have the same God, apparently, from what I'm aware of, at least on Twitter. They say that
It
they
is
all
a-
different have different gods or something.
it the degree to which it's quote unquote different is just whether they believe that Jesus is also God.
Mhm.
And as of right now, the Jewish people don't really believe that.
Mm.
Modus ponens. And if you want to call modus ponens circular, you can. That's fine, but you'd be wrong.
Honest pubis.
Once
Okay,
again, I want to
hold
point
on.
out that
I must
iterative
have missed. I
testing-
must have missed it. Let me have it. I must have missed where
Okay.
you said where you explained how it's impossible for the Bible not to be real. Could you retouch that point
Yeah,
without
because
jargon?
it's been demonstrated right in this debate. Because if you deny that the Bible is reliable or true, then you wouldn't be able to know anything. And neither of you have given
I
us any
directly denied the Bible
epistemological
was reliable or
foundation.
true.
Yeah, that's fine. And
Oh.
you give us circular arguments on what you know to be
But
true.
you don't know
No,
anything. You don't know if the Bible's true. You
Right,
can
can
claim
I
it to be all
clarify
you
one
want.
thing?
Possibility of the
I need
contrary.
to clarify one thing.
Yeah.
Science and iterative testing is not circular.
Why is it bad that we can't know anything in terms of 100% certainty? It must absolutely be true. He says that as if it's like a bad thing that we need to fix by believing in God. I don't necessarily see that as a bad thing because we're constantly learning, and that's the entire point of knowledge, that it constantly builds on itself and constantly disproves itself to get more knowledgeable knowledge, you know? That's the entire
Yeah,
point.
to become more correct.
Yeah, that's the entire purpose of science and discovering stuff, is to become more correct. And the more we evolve, the more correct we become. And we may never reach the 100% tippity top peak of correctness, but all I know is we are constantly becoming more correct every day. Poetic, I know.
Circular. You're making the argument that is affirming the consequent. It is not. Science, when you do iterative testing, observation, repeated testing, it is not circular. It is iterative. It is constantly getting, is not circular.
But something I do want to say is, again, kind of going back to the colloquial definition of knowledge versus the philosophical definition of knowledge, because there are two ways to look at this. There is the general layman's way of looking at knowledge, in which case, yeah, we do know all of this stuff. And then there's the philosophical way where you go on the ins and outs and then you really analyze it. And then you gotta admit, no, we can't really know anything, because when we get to the very specifics, all of our senses and all of our measurements probably are not 100% absolutely infallible, right? There's two different ways of looking at it that we have to differentiate here.
You're making the
You agree with that, right?
Yeah.
Cool.
argument that is affirming the consequent. It is not. Science, when you do iterative testing, observation, repeated testing, it is not circular. It is iterative. It is constantly getting more and more data and basing your reality on what the data gives you.
Craig,
None
is
of that is.
this a question?
I was nearly at the end of my sentence. Can you
Oh
calm
my
down,
God,
Joe? Joe, you
gentlemen.
have spoken for about.
So what he really should be saying is the basis by which we are gathering more knowledge is iterative, really. Like
Mhm.
that's it. Like what we are doing, or what scientists are doing really, is that they're taking a certain idea and they're trying to falsify it as hard as they can. And they continue to do that until they get towards a correct belief. Like that's what's
And then
going
that
on.
belief ends up getting invalidated by another corrected belief. And it kind of just goes
But
on
yeah,
like
and
that.
like at some point, like there's a foundation for it all though.
Mm-hmm.
Like it doesn't necessarily have to be like something that relies on a external god, but yeah, like
Well, yeah,
Right,
it could
yeah.
be anything for all we know. It could be the flying spaghetti monster or the rainbow unicorn shitting out berries or something.
it could quite literally be anything.
Mm-hmm.
About 900
And
years
that's the
to
beauty
please
of
the
it
other
all.
Yep.
people do it. Okay.
Your sense of time.
I was no, Joe. I just told you that I was
Holy
nearly finished.
fuck, he's
Can you
mad.
just hold on? Can you just hold on? And when
I heard you, and I
Mhm.
chose
I can
when
see
I
his
when
body
I
shaking.
finish
All
talking,
right,
Joe, you
Gentlemen,
can talk,
gentlemen,
Joe, okay?
gentlemen, all of you, I will say all of you are interrupting each other. It has been pretty fair across the board of everybody interrupting each other. If we could just be mindful, even if you have to mute yourself while the other person is completing their sentence, do so. Wait till they complete their sentence, then intervene. I understand there are some interruptions that make sense, but when somebody appeals to let them finish,
Oh my
please
God,
just
will you land
hush
it?
up and let up. Shut the fuck up, Flo. Please
Fight,
just
fight, fight, fight.
just do it. I'm up. You don't fight the mod. All right, back to
Well,
you.
can I explain?
Back to
Right.
you,
No.
Craig. I think you or Craig
Yeah,
and Joel.
so
I think you were
right, I'm gonna lay out how it is. Science is built on observation and repeated testing. If our senses were completely unreliable, we wouldn't be able to develop a consistent, testable model of reality. But we do. We predict eclipses down to the second. We design technology that functions flawlessly across the globe, and we cure diseases based on observable biological processes.
You're
At
doing too
which
much, though.
point
We don't
all
need
of
to.
our
We don't need
senses
to.
were
We don't need
fundamentally
to.
broken.
We don't need to demonstrate science is great. They need to demonstrate why that book is necessary for anything to be
Yeah.
known. Because obviously, lots of people in the Bible itself, lots of people have known shit without that ability, right?
All right,
Craig is actually doing what you need to do to win this debate, because the argument I laid out relies on the impossibility of the.
You want me to
contrary.
antagonize Craig?
Hold on. We've
You want to
given
fight
you.
the vote? Come on.
I listen. I think if we do have the physical, I know we got the physical on our side too. Anyway,
Wait,
we,
physical on your side. Have you seen the guns I carry with me?
oh,
God
sorry, sorry.
damn.
Oh my God, that was so corny. I love it. Go ahead.
Hey, I'm
right,
British. That's the only guns I can carry. Okay.
I'm
that is
American, me
fair.
too.
That is
All
fair.
right.
L for
So
Pro.
I am losing my train of thought. Let me focus here. So over and over again, I've made the argument that unless you presuppose that the Christian worldview is true, you cannot have knowledge. And I've given you a way within which, if the Christian worldview is true, we can have knowledge. You have not given us a way under your worldview that you can have knowledge, and you keep saying science.
I got you one.
What
I got one for you.
That's good. But I
But
just
you
wanna make
cannot
this last
have
one. What I keep
absolute
repeating
knowledge.
is that when you
They-
say science can give you
They
knowledge,
don't say that.
What do you? That's actually. You
They-
just
they-
gave me
they
a good
think
idea.
absolute knowledge is. They think absolute knowledge is the only type of knowledge.
That's
you
the
can have,
thing. Yeah, I
which
was about
you can
to
do a little
say.
fun. You can do some funny reductios here. So like, if at some point like you're not like, can God reveal to you what exactly 3/4 of a cup looks like?
Well, that's actually a good point. There's a difference between absolute knowledge, which I don't think even actually exists, and general knowledge, which is what everybody else uses and what we kind of base all of our views and rationale off of.
Mm-hmm.
There's different kinds of knowledge that we have to talk about because it just seems
Mhm.
like these two sides are either talking on different pages and they're kind of talking past each other, or they're focusing on absolute knowledge by accident when they really shouldn't be, unless they want to put the burden of proof onto them to prove absolute knowledge can be known.
Yeah, they would have to basically have solved hard solipsism, which, according to Craig is kind of annoying, but like he's right when he says this. It'll get you a Nobel Prize for sure.
you admitted science can give you knowledge. You admitted that science relies on your senses. In your senses, you cannot give me a non-circular argument as to why your senses are reliable. That's the
I'm
circular
gonna give you the same argument that you just gave me, except I'm gonna swap out the Bible for this Limp Bizkit poster. This Limp Bizkit poster is the foundation of all knowledge. And without my Limp Bizkit poster, you don't know shit because I designed the paradigm within which we're gonna talk about it. So now how is the
Chocolate starfish.
Bible? How is your premise better than my
conceded the
Limp
debate.
Bizkit poster? Praises
Dude, I
be
just
to
switched to Limp
Craig's
Bizkit for
family.
my,
You just conceded the
I
debate
just
again.
switched to the biscuit for my gym playlist. Banging.
Yeah.
Your poster, you just made your poster God. So now God is also required for knowledge in your worldview.
Well, no, poster isn't.
You
God.
said the Christian God.
All right, well then a poster can't give you knowledge.
You said the Christian triune God. Now explain to me how the Christian triune God is any different logically, philosophically, than me pointing at my poster. You just arbitrarily chose a beginning point.
Yep, there you go.
Defend the position that the Limp Bizkit poster grounds knowledge.
I mean, that's the challenge I just gave you for the Bible.
You have to defend
Yeah,
it. We
no,
already
I-
defend it.
Yeah, so look at
Limp
that.
Bizkit,
Look at that. Look at that
poster
right
revealed
there.
the knowledge.
They're forcing him to defend that right there. What we should do right there is just give them the same arguments right there. Just give them the transcendental argument,
Mm-hmm.
and that it can't be anything otherwise, and then watch them squirm.
Yeah.
Like that's it. That's all you need. If they, like, I can literally point to this Jack Daniels little rocks class right here. This is the foundation for all knowledge right here, because it can't be otherwise. Like, and we're at epistemologically the same exact point that we were like at the start of this fucking conversation.
Yeah.
To me, and then
You
that was
have-
based
so
on
it's
my knowledge.
personal.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
it's based on internal testimony.
So God is required for knowledge.
That I got from Limp Bizkit.
Right.
Do you not see what we're doing here? We're pointing out how
Yeah.
ridiculous your
Conceding
argument
the
is.
No. What
No,
you're doing?
there's
They
like-
don't
hold on,
they
one
don't
second,
understand
one second, one
that.
second.
It's
Let me
unfortunate
let
that
me
they
have
don't
one second,
understand
please.
that,
Like,
Hold
one second,
on,
please.
hold on,
Meg.
gentlemen.
or that they
Can I have one
really
second?
aren't
Can I
are
please have
trying
one
not
second?
to understand
Right.
it.
Yeah.
What Flo's doing, and what you're falling straight into, is showing how ridiculous your argument is by saying, well, that poster could be the thing that gives us all the knowledge, just as easily as God could be the thing that gives us all the knowledge. There's no way to prove that
Mhm.
poster or God is the thing that gives us the knowledge. You need to point out how God is the thing that gives us the knowledge, rather than just saying that God is the thing that gives us the knowledge. We can say just as easily that poster gave us revelations and revealed to us what our abilities and knowledge are, just as you say God did, and it's just as ridiculous.
I know you have something to say, Joel. I'm sorry. Real quick. I love that. Could a God who does not reveal to us anything that we can know for certain give us knowledge that we can know for certain?
Could a God who doesn't say that again?
Could a God who does not reveal anything to us for certain. Give us knowledge that we could have for certain.
If he doesn't reveal anything to us, then I suppose not.
All right,
Isn't
so
that
that's what we're doing
paradigm?
with the poster. You're saying that you can replace my argument with any god and anything, and they could give us knowledge. But I just gave you a scenario where God couldn't. I'm saying the
So-
same thing about your made up God.
Okay, so you're okay. This is like,
So
can
just
God
for-
make a rock too heavy for himself to lift? This is one of those
Yeah.
little. Okay,
No, it's not. Look,
can he though?
No.
Let Joel go. Joel had something to say.
no, he can't. Look,
Oh, so not all powerful.
sometimes what? Oh, I got a whole argument on that. If you want to talk about that, that's perfectly fine. I teach that in classes. If you want,
So yeah, that's just the problem with like omnipotence, really. Like right there.
Mhm.
Can God make a rock that's like that's too difficult for him to lift? And if no, then God can't do like certain things like
Ooh,
No.
it's a good trap.
then yeah, it's something that he can't do. And if God can do anything, but he can't do that, like then he's not omnipotent. Like you would just, and same thing if you say yes, then there are rocks that he can't lift,
Mm-hmm.
which means that he's again not omnipotent.
Indeed.
And you can do this like these are very simple things. This is just a problem with the concept of omnipotence in general. Like that's why it logically just can't happen.
Yeah.
You really shouldn't teach children that's bad.
Oh, it's bad, but according to what standard, Craig? How do you get your moral knowledge?
personal.
Teaching religion to children is bad, and I will
Craig,
stand by
bad,
that.
bad according to
Oh,
what
come
standard,
on.
Craig? Is that what you're
According-
feeling?
I mean,
about?
I think
brainwashing.
we can
teaching
get
lies
into
is
that.
I
bad.
think it's
Oh,
brainwashing
I
of
think you
this,
have
but
something to
this
say.
is a low
This is
blow.
what
Go
it-
ahead about morality. That would be fun.
We can do
That
that.
would be amazing. Look, what you guys. Are
It's
doing
just
is-
uncouth.
I know
That's
that the
it.
Limp
That's the
Bizkit-
only
Limp Bizkit poster
issue.
is just a silly
Uncouth.
version of like sometimes you'll hear like Harry Potter or a Spider-Man comic book or whatever. Quiet down, please.
Limp Bizkit is not.
Oh yeah, wait, hold
I'm
on.
sorry,
I,
I'm saying it's a
oh,
Limp
I can,
Bizkit.
Quiet down.
Huh?
The
Harry Potter. I can just pull out all of my Harry Potter books for this and say this is the foundation of all reality right here.
Hell yeah, dude.
It's like platform 9 3/4 exists and it's at Orlando Studios. Just fucking pull that shit. That'd be so dumb,
Yeah.
but hilarious.
See, when you do that, it throws me off track. Now I got to take even longer to get back the train back on the track. It's a fragile train. It's got to stay on the tracks. Look, this appeal to like some hypothetical god. Look, by the time you've defined that Limp Bizkit poster, first of all, you'd have to make it immaterial, absolute, triune, objective, universal in its applicability, normative.
Triune.
And, yes, triune as well.
Why
It
triune is why is triune
Hold that thought.
required?
Hold that thought. Let that be a follow-up question after I finish my thought, man. You got to wait. All right, get the train back. Let the train go on the tracks.
You just
Yeah, why
you
does it
say
have
so
to
many
be
absurd things
triune?
all in
Hold that
Okay,
thought,
Flo,
hold that
Flo,
thought,
everybody
hold
shut
that
up.
thought,
Flo, I
hold
know
that
your ADHD is
I'm
kicking
serving by
in.
what standard?
It's
all right?
impulsivity. I get it, but let Joel finish and at least conclude. Joel, get to the point.
Here's the point. When you try to make that Limp Bizkit or Spider-Man or Harry Potter or anything else, when you try to make that the standard of knowledge,
Superman.
you have to give it all the attributes of the triune God of Scripture. If you don't, then you don't have a parallel argument to what we've been saying, because each and every one of those attributes
That
is
wait,
necessary,
that's
and God,
that's not true.
What happened?
That's not fucking
I
true.
didn't catch
that
it.
So what he's saying is that in order to make the argument that the Limp Bizkit poster is like the only thing that can provide knowledge, that it has to have the same requirements as the Christian God,
That's not true.
which is not the fight. It's not. That's not true at all. Like that requires its own separate argument. Actually,
That's a says
not-
who
like-
moment right there, if I have ever seen one.
that is a big says who moment. If I've ever seen one. Like my first question would be like, huh? Like
Paul,
based on what? Like
let me
what?
see if I got it here.
It's
Wrong
like
one.
wait, you could just flip this
Huh?
back. Like, actually, no, you just need to be the Limp Bizkit poster.
has them all. So all you've done is demonstrate your inability to understand the argument, or unwillingness. I think it's unwillingness, and you've demonstrated that literally nothing else can.
Oh,
God, it turns out,
unwillingness,
is
eh?
necessary for knowledge. Yeah, you can come and you can
Nice
say
presupposition.
Oh,
I explained to you
Man,
how
you
to
gotta
land
land
it.
the fucking plane.
Oh,
is
boy.
calling it a presupposition is not an argument. Yes,
Well,
it's
it is
a
an argument because
That's
presupposition
literally
doesn't
an
make sense.
argument.
Yeah, that's
That is yes, that is that is a counter. What the fuck? That is an actual counter to the argument. It's
Bro,
like
doesn't
you're
even-
presupposing a god. That's not an argument. Yes, it is. Like that is a way to invalidate your argument. Yes.
Bad
But
thinking.
it's justified. It's
If
a
you
justified-
if
okay,
you as an
justified.
interlocutor
The entire point of
presupposing like a
presuppositions isn't-
being,
The entire point of presuppositions is that they aren't justified.
yeah,
all you've
exactly.
been
Because
doing-
your
you're talking
justification
about
for
lit-
God being
listen
needed for
to me, Chris.
knowledge-
You're talking about science that tests our senses. which
Your
we use to
argument
use the
works for
science
my
to push our
poster.
senses. We're
Your
talking
argument
about a
does not
transcendent
work.
God, and
Does
we're
not
proving
necessitate
God
trying God.
by the possibility
And
of
we
contact.
got
Joel, do you ever
Just
stop
do-
talking?
doing
Joel is a filibuster. He just
To
filibusters.
be
just
to
enough.
be fair, poor Joel hasn't been able to actually say one full sentence without being interrupted
does run
by
on sentences,
either.
Mom.
I
Anyone
understand,
who
but
Yes,
he
I mean,
hasn't
his
been able to
sentences go on
finish.
forever.
That is
Understood,
true.
but
They do go on
come
for a while.
again
Why would I
Mhm.
not different clones to take
longer.
over?
Plus, I think he's a cop.
Gentlemen,
What's
I
that?
can't even finish what I'm saying.
Sorry, Sarah. I apologize, Sarah.
Thank you. All right, at least be
I guess.
reasonable because Craig and Flo, you're getting irritated anytime they interrupt you, and I think it's fair to go across the board. If he's filibustering, I will call it out, but I can't call it out
Okay.
if you guys.
How
are
about
still
this? How
interrupting.
about Craig doesn't do the don't interrupt me thing, and we can interrupt them as well. Craig,
How
deal?
about you
Listen.
articulate
Okay.
what I just said back to me?
If you guys just want to go and
Why would I
go
articulate what you
detail.
just said back to you? I'm trying to ask you how how would you say, because the argument that you made to support the existence of God, right? That logic chain can be applied to my poster. It can be applied to this knife. It can be applied to.
What did I just say, Dusty?
You wanted me to tell you your argument for you.
What did I say? What was my argument that I just?
Oh, I
gave?
don't know. I was yelling at you.
Your
Exactly.
argument
Sure.
was there has to be some magical special properties, otherwise it's
That's
not
not
the real
good.
God. I reject that.
Unbelievable.
This globe, I now prescribe all of the things that your God has. Every single thing.
That's incredible. That's
Yeah.
look what you're doing. You're first of all, you're
Please
proving
worship my globe.
you're literally conceding to
Worship the
debate club.
globe.
No,
It is the
you cannot
creator of
act
all
like us
things.
being childish is you winning the debate.
Okay.
If
Worship the
we take
To be
globe.
fair, we're not the
then
ones
we
that
want to
have very
debate.
friends,
It's-
We
so
shouldn't take it
childish.
seriously.
It's
then
so
let's debate.
goofy, but like it is kind of true though.
It
Like,
is.
Okay,
It
the
is-
debate
Anyway,
that you've
let's
laid
get-
out.
It's like that's the
This
point
is the
though.
debate
It's
that
like
you've laid
it's
out so-
very silly. Like,
Literally.
this entire argument is very silly because it is.
The only difference between him and Mr. Glasses right there is that he's pointing at a book. Craig is pointing at a globe.
far,
That's all I've been.
and then explain to me why that poster cannot be substituted for the triune God.
Before
Are you
Joel
asking me to
goes-
repeat the argument I just gave you a second ago when you were yelling?
Yeah,
what I'm
but you're
trying to say
speaking.
is why can't I use my poster?
And before Joel does, because Joel has a very concise answer, and it's very,
Bullshit.
very simple. He said it multiple
Joel
times.
hasn't been
The
concise one.
question I asked, I think it was Craig, about a
Craig.
God who could. Craig? Really?
Craig, yeah, it's not Craig.
Oh.
C-R-A-I-G.
We're
Yes,
Americans,
that's okay.
man.
Anybody
No
else know
American
that?
can say it right.
No, we
Craig?
can't. All right, Craig. All right, sorry, Craig.
Yeah,
Um,
again.
The question I asked you about a God who does
know
not
what
reveal
you're
things for certain, being able to reveal things for certain, that God could not be used in our argument, and you conceded that point.
I did. No, I didn't.
Well, Craig.
Okay, but I'm saying that
So- but then
poster
you're saying
can reveal it though.
anything
that,
can.
that poster
For the same
it has
reason.
all hold on, that poster has all of the abilities of your God. That's what we're saying. Every single magical special ability that your God possesses, that Limp Bizkit poster also possesses.
It has all the same attributes,
Absolutely.
Do you like
100%.
Do you like
Oh,
corn
it's-
better?
so it's immaterial.
Yes.
Me too. Actually.
Okay. The poster is immaterial.
Yeah, that's just a manifestation of it.
Yeah, but
Okay.
Jesus was
That
material
is
in
a
those
good
Bibles.
one.
That-
That's good. Yeah, it's a manifestation. Nice.
Yeah, this
Got
is a
his
yeah, this
ass.
Limp Bizkit poster is just a manifestation of my God. Yeah, like that's entirely valid.
Indeed.
Poster is immaterial.
God.
Is that
It
what
has,
Yeah,
it has an
so-
essence. Hold
Pun
on.
intended.
Mhm.
The essence of my poster is different from the poster itself.
the poster?
That is the poster's son that was sent to die
The
for our sins.
poster,
The poster is immaterial. That's what you're saying.
that's the
Yeah.
father part.
The poster is immaterial. Yes or no?
Yes, it has an
yes.
immaterial aspect and nature.
So the poster is immaterial.
It's an
The
idea.
poster.
Look,
that-
Are you
that
stuck?
poster
Can
is-
someone
you
please
know-
can someone please read
the
the
That
video? I still
poster
exist.
exists
Oh my God.
necessarily. Craig.
we go.
Craig. Does that
Yeah.
poster exist necessarily in all possible worlds?
Yes,
Yes.
immaterially and materially.
Yes.
And
No.
look, it still
immaterially in
exists
all.
though.
Craig. Does that poster
Look at
exist in all possible worlds?
What?
Immaterial.
You look, he's look at that. Look at the skepticism now of this God right here. Like
Indeed.
it's like
Yes, the tables
can the
have
Limp Bizkit
turned.
poster can the Limp Bizkit poster exist in all worlds? Yes. And then he's like, no, it can't. Like
Oh my gosh. Just like your Bible can't
like,
exist in all worlds,
welcome.
buddy boy.
welcome to your argument personified. Like
Yes or
Under
no?
the Copenhagen interpretation of quantum mechanics, it would
Does-
not exist in all universes.
Does that poster
Joe, I'm in the middle of
exist?
answering the question. Asking the question
It's a
again will
yes
not
or
make
no
me
question,
answer it.
Craig. It's a yes
And
or
I'm
no
not going to
question,
answer a
Craig.
yes or no question, Joel.
He's
to get
screaming
the nuance
now.
that is required to answer the question properly.
it's a
Joel,
screaming match.
It's a
Joel.
yes or no
Craig!
question. Does the
and I
poster
refuse to
exist
engage in
Wi-Fi.
your question
necessarily?
that is loaded. Joel,
Craig. The answer
Joe.
is no. And if yes,
Joe.
we will continue.
Joel, I'm not answering yes or no.
Now
to your
he's doing the thing. The tables have turned.
Mm-hmm.
Now Craig is the one getting under Joel's skin. Oh boy. Oh.
Yep.
I think he's in
But
his
like I
element
said,
now.
when-
You can tell he's
Yeah,
gone from angry.
when
Hmm?
he's gone from angry to like now he's like he smells blood in the water. Like this is what I mean. Like Craig works when it works.
Yeah. I could tell.
question that
That's
has
why you're
nuance.
not. Because you know that it's absurd. Because this word picture.
Just
this
like your
metaphor
God is absurd.
doesn't
Yes.
Well, yeah.
Because
That
that's
poster
straw
is
man.
God.
He had the point.
he has no idea. He just refuted his own worldview right there. Like
Literally.
it's like this. It's
That's
like
why
your
he's getting
view
mad.
that your view that the Limp Bizkit poster is your God is absurd. Yes. Welcome to my position, brother. Welcome to atheism, brother.
Yeah. He's doing good here. He's actually turning around a little bit.
Yeah, like
Great.
at this point, like they're winning the debate, like outright right here. Like
Yeah.
all they have to do is just point out that yes, your God is also absurd here. That was the point.
Hell, Craig, if you have to
That's
straw
not
man
bad.
somebody's
Go.
position, Craig.
Look at his face. He's so happy about
Joel,
this.
are you okay,
Craig,
Joel? You
you
seem
are
broken.
literally
You keep
mocking
repeating the same thing.
yourself when you
Are
do
you
that.
okay, Joel?
Just
Do
so
you
we're
need
clear.
to take some time?
Craig, if you have to
Joel.
straw man somebody's position,
Nobody is strawmanning
understand.
anything, Joel.
You literally
That
are.
It's a
poster has
parable.
every aspect
We're
that your God
speaking in
has to deal with it.
Okay, and then what's the reality behind the parable? Because the parable is a metaphor that
The
can be
parable
interpreted.
is that just maybe parable is the wrong word, but we're
Ah.
demonstrating. Parable's imperfect. Okay,
Yes.
you got me on that one. I concede the point. I shouldn't have called it a parable.
That's
But
good.
what I'm demonstrating is that just like God exists when we're not there, the poster exists when you can't see it, right? So because it's a concept, it's an idea. The idea, the metaphysical body of the poster still exists.
The whole metaphor depends on
Thank
you
you,
being
that's
able to point. The whole metaphor depends on you being able to point to anything and for it to work. If you have to
Yep.
define and redefine the object such that it's no longer that object, what you are doing, and I'm just going to skip to the end for the sake of being concise.
Please do.
If you, please do, Listen, Craig,
He was just doing the
gotta
thing, and you
stop.
had to antagonize him.
you really have to do it, Craig. If you have to redefine the thing out of existence, you're no longer talking about that thing. And here's the spoiler alert: you're now actually talking about God, and you have conceded the debate.
Actually,
if you have
you're
to
talking about the
redefine,
poster. You're talking about Limp Bizkit now. Yeah,
Listen,
no,
Nerf.
Hail Fred Durst.
thank you for.
Making the poster,
I did it all for the nookie.
making the poster have an absolute universal mind.
I love this. He's a Limp Bizkit enjoyer. It's great.
What the fuck is
It's
Limp
great
Bizkit?
understanding. It is a new metal band from the 90s.
Ah, okay, cool.
They don't listen to anything past chocolate starfish and whatever the fuck.
What the
and
fuck?
hot dog water. Yeah, it's a really fucking whack ass name, but past that album, like you can't even ironically enjoy it. It's just bad.
Got it.
Like their albums are
Created everything.
their first few albums are like so bad it's good kind of,
Uh-huh.
but it's just like it's good slop. But after that album, like their Behind Blue Eyes cover, which is their biggest song or one of their biggest songs,
Mhm.
it's shit.
Damn.
It's bad.
Everything. So God is
100%.
still required for knowledge. Thank you for conceding the debate.
And thank you
Right,
for
here's the
conceding
thing,
that Limp
right.
Bizkit is God.
Can you, right, I want to ask you something. So, in about 100 years' time, I give myself a mortal life and I invent a time machine. I go back to the beginning of time and create the universe. Can you disprove any of that?
If
Uh,
you go,
say it again. Say it again.
In 100 years' time, I give myself a mortal life and I invent a time machine and I go back to the beginning of the universe and become the thing that creates the universe. Can you disprove any of that?
Well, how would we
Well, that's
disprove it?
beginning.
That's
So you
the
can't disprove
point.
it then.
No. It was a question.
Yeah,
How
you
would we go
can.
about disproving it? How would we use
No, the
it?
question was, can you disprove it?
Yes.
Holy
So I guess the
shit!
answer is
This
no.
is
The answer is yes. I'm asking you a very simple question. How would we disprove
Oh,
the
wait,
fact of
Yeah,
wait,
you
wait.
don't answer, you don't
That's
answer
the
my question.
point.
It's a question.
he's not
So-
he's not
Yeah.
answering it though. He's not
Is
answering.
it yes or no? Can you disprove what I have just said?
Yes.
Go on then. Disprove it
Okay.
then.
Because
That's
in
not
order
what
for you
the-
to make the time machine, you would have to rely on something called knowledge, which can only be had with God.
Yeah, but I went back in time and created the universe, including all the knowledge.
Oh my god.
It's like the knowledge to create the time machine is actually from God. Like, I'm so dead, dude. They're not serious.
This is ridiculous.
They're so unserious.
I'm standing Craig right
God.
now. I'm not gonna lie. I like his attitude.
Yeah, no, like Craig is pulling through actually.
He's turning it around town, man.
Knowledge in the universe.
So you concede that you needed God for knowledge in order to create the time machine, and then you went back in
So
time.
are you saying
found
that
out
I'm
what
My
God?
God,
could be
but my
universe.
God. Yes, we can
Are
see,
you
but my
saying-
God. We're only talking about my God. It has to be Limp Bizkit poster.
You have redefined that
For me-
poster such that it is not that poster anymore. Think about this. I
And
really
just
gotta-
like the
hold
triune
on.
God redefines
Rusty,
Father and
Rusty,
Son
If
entirely.
you have to redefine the poster, one of the attributes of God is that he is not that poster. If you have to
Just like
redefine
in
the
the
poster,
What's
so
the
that it
attribute
has
of God
all
is
of
that
the
he's not
attributes
human.
of God, one of the attributes of God is that he is not that poster.
So you're Jewish
congratulations,
now.
You have just again
Joe.
conceded the debate. Craig,
You're
Joel,
Joel.
can I-
You're Jewish now
Yeah.
because you said that you can't redefine things to make it something that's not. So God is not a human, right?
Yep. Can I
So
point
you
out, Joel,
just
how...
you
so-
just disproved Christianity.
the verse-
Congratulations.
The
Yeah.
verse.
Go ahead,
Right,
Craig. I
Joe,
think
Oh,
Hold on, hold on. I
damn.
think Craig wanted to get in there, but Flow State,
Yeah.
you keep interrupting your own partner. Craig, go ahead.
I'm interrupting
okay.
everybody today.
Go ahead, Craig.
I think Joel is missing the point of what we're doing. We're just pointing out the ridiculousness of his stance, how something that is completely immaterial can be the thing that gives everyone knowledge, when we have already stated that knowledge comes from our own observations and experiences, and that can exist separate of God. So when you keep going, oh, you conceded the debate, no, we're not. We are simply making the ridiculousness of your position known by taking it to ridiculous extremes. That does not negate the fact that both Flo and I have already stated.
Yeah, they're just revealing the absurdity of their position.
This is
Like,
basically the flying
when-
spaghetti monster, but a lot more snarky and silly.
yeah, it is. It is it is literally the flying spaghetti monster position.
But
Like
you
that-
bet your ass I'm still
like-
bringing it up anyways.
Well, of course, 'cause it's
Gonna
just
get
a
this
fact.
out of them. It's very clear that they're frustrated because they know they're in the wrong here.
Well, yeah, they're frustrated because they don't have an answer. Like he hasn't provided an answer yet. Wi-Fi
Indeed.
Gospel, by the way, is just sitting in the background. He is. He's just enjoying
Oh,
the
he,
show.
I
apparently.
think he knows that he has absolutely nothing to say, so it's just gonna be us versus Jeff probably if we bring that up.
Yeah, it
Um,
might actually just devolve into that. So
yeah, oh yeah,
we'll see.
dude.
That knowledge can exist separate of God.
You keep repeating the same circular argument over and over again after you've
But
been
you
debunked.
don't know what a circular argument is because iterative
Okay.
How
testing
is that
not circular.
circular?
Do you use your senses for the scientific method?
Yes, and you can,
Okay.
you can use
And
the
then how do you
scientific method.
use
tested that
what do you use to observe the
by
conclusions of the
testing
scientific
reality.
method, Craig?
By
What do you
testing
use?
reality.
No, yeah, and how do you
By
test reality?
testing
Use your
reality.
senses.
By
Uh-oh.
continued testing, iterative testing.
You're in a circle and you literally can't even
It
see
doesn't
right?
matter.
I
It is
said it like
not
4 times now.
circular when it is iterative and
Really,
tested.
Right.
real quick,
Hold
guys,
on,
can
can
I
we-
mean, he's right about that,
And
but I
I-
do think he can word it a little bit differently. There's a difference between presupposition and a way of measuring and verifying things via various units of measurement
Yeah,
and
you-
tools.
But here's the thing. The counter to this is you can't know for certain. That is it.
Well, yeah,
Like,
that's where
that
we
is
go
the only
into
thing.
the
And you have
concept.
to you just have to like couch it in a like you have to say there are axioms that we hold or there is a belief that I hold that involves like X, Y, and Z. Like that one that the laws of nature are like pretty consistent.
That's
And
where
that they,
the
those are reliable.
That's
And
where-
that our senses can either A, be relied on, or B, we have tools that can give us a good idea. Of
that's where
we're
we
at.
go into the concept of absolute knowledge then, right? Which we already concede nobody can actually have absolute knowledge.
Yeah, like there's no way to obtain absolute knowledge.
So we
in
do
this-
have
in
to
the worldview.
keep the field in the other forms of knowledge that we can have, such as general knowledge,
We
empirical
have to-
knowledge.
We have to reject the claim that there is objective knowledge. That's it. Like
Yeah.
and we have to force them to make that true. Like if their question is, oh, like how do you know that for sure? It's like we don't. How can you tell? How do you know for sure? And if they just say because God, oh yeah, what's the argument? They do tag, and they'll be like, oh, because it can't be otherwise. And then at that point, you can just introduce everything else, and yeah, you get the absurdity shit. Like they're just circling back.
Yeah.
Like they've just circled back right here.
Mhm.
Like, we can win this by not appealing to science. Just say it's through divine revelation, and we got him.
No,
Yes, say that.
True.
Say it's by divine
All-
revelation.
Right. All
True.
praise God.
Dusty's like correct here.
Oh, I mean,
He-
I
divine
get where
revelation.
it's from. It was flying.
like because that's all the preceptors have. That's all that they
Divine
have is
revelation?
divine revelation.
Yep.
Yeah. It's like that Limp Bizkit poster gave me the divine revelation, or they through divine revelation, the Limp Bizkit poster gave me knowledge. Like
I actually have a little cool
That's it.
Aztec death whistle here that I could probably use if you ever see in my camera.
I mean, I could probably
This
find
little thing.
I could pull out a Stitch plushie. I could go like that absurd. Like this right here, this lovable little blue alien thing right here. He is the source of all knowledge, right?
You can't hear me blowing
And-
on it, but it sounds like a screaming woman in the middle of the woods. Have you ever heard an Aztec death whistle? They sound kind of scary, man.
That's crazy.
But that's my
I've
god
not
right
actually
there.
though, but
That's
yeah,
my
no, like
god.
yeah, my god is Stitch right there. And look, he even has like movies, TV shows. Like there's so much about him that we can learn from him. Like you just have to be open to him.
Yeah, you have to open your mind.
Open your mind to Ohana,
getting one.
okay?
They're all praised noodly appendages, who is way better than your god because my
Hey,
god
yeah,
actually
he
pretty
brought
much
up the
life
flying
is also
spaghetti
very
monster. Let's go.
heavily.
So
Yeah.
what we've done is we've regressed to the point. We've regressed to the point where we're just making claims. That's it.
no,
That's-
I've proven everything.
Joe,
I've
I
said.
want to point out that you are
Let's
now
move
banned from saying my name. Just to be
Let's-
clear, you said
let's-
you
I'm
have
saying-
now
That's
you
gonna be
have
hard to
used all of your
enforce.
claims.
Okay.
I'll sell you more Craigs.
Alex, did you have a thought in here? It looked like you were trying to squeeze in.
I don't have something to squeeze in, but I
I'll
can go
sell
back.
you
I have
more
a few
Craigs.
things,
That's a bummer,
things
man.
about- I have a
I
few
got many
things
things to
about
squeeze
the
in.
opening statement because I was cut off. I got one in and I had three.
Three
Craig
what?
said three
Great.
things about Craig's opening statement. You said that nobody has proven that God exists. They just use philosophical word games. So how do you
Yes.
prove that the laws of logic exist without using philosophical word games?
You can
There
test
are
them.
philosophical word
Oh,
games.
you can
wouldn't
test
be
the
able
laws
to.
of logic. Go ahead. How do you test
Yeah.
the laws of logic?
See
You
they're
don't.
consistent.
They're
Oh, does
defined. They're
consistency
defined already.
presuppose the laws of logic?
Excuse me.
No.
Oh, consistency doesn't. So I can be consistent and not consistent at the same time when I test the laws of logic, can't I?
All you're doing is
No,
testing a
that'd be
definition against a definition.
Hold
Yeah.
on.
You guys need to
I will.
figure out
I
your
will
position.
challenge. Yes, there are different positions here, which is fine.
Yeah,
I know that you. I know that you guys
I
teamed
can
up.
get both
you
of them.
planned-
How do you test the laws of logic? They're just descriptions.
Yeah.
They don't make propositional claims. That was really dumb.
If
That
anything, you
was
can
stupid as
possibly argue that
fuck.
that the term laws of logic might be a little bit of a what do you call it, misnomer or something like that. It doesn't accurately describe what they actually are, which is just descriptions. Right.
They're just yeah. Laws are just descriptions. at the end of the day, really.
Mhm.
At least in science. Like they just describe reality. They describe a certain facet of reality, I should say.
Yeah.
Like,
It's
this
kind of a
idea that
misnomer, I think, right?
this idea that you can like test them is like kind of it's really fucking weird.
Mm-hmm.
Or at least in this case, like with
I mean,
how
I think those
laws are being used here, it's just a description.
They conflate the concept of laws with rules because of legal stuff, not the concept of laws in science, which is just descriptions.
Mm-hmm.
Here now, you're watching it, right?
Bad decision.
And
bad
and,
decision.
and we're still
Context,
we're gonna stomp you
Yeah.
on this in a
Listen,
different way we want to.
I will
You guys
question
can
both of
strategize all
you.
you want, and you don't have
Hold
an
on,
argument.
hold on.
You were answering.
Go ahead, Alex. Did you want to finish that thought?
Yeah, and look, I will question both of them separately if they have different positions on it. That's fine. But Craig said that you don't need to presuppose the laws of logic in order to test them. That's right.
And ultimately, you're trying to do this backwards
You're
because you're the one
answering
making an
Craig's
affirmative
question.
claim. We're the ones questioning you.
My affirmative claim is the impossibility of the contrary, like I've already said like 20 times. Please listen.
The contrary of what?
Can Craig answer the question, please, and then I can get to
The
you.
laws of logic are a human concept that we have come up with.
Ah, there it is.
Okay.
So
and
the
now, are concepts mind dependent, Craig?
True.
Craig?
Yeah, and our mind
And
is
before
something that evolved without.
before human
I was
mind
asked,
existed,
answering your
you said- yeah,
question.
and
Do
you
not
said yes,
talk
man.
around in the
Oh,
middle.
no.
Now you finish what I'm saying.
Craig is crashing out
No,
of
Joe,
you.
the
guys.
man's
Son of
saying
a
my name.
bitch.
No, Craig.
I was just
Look, I've
rooting
got,
for
I've
him.
got Craig's for sale, extra Craig's.
When you ask
I'll
the
take some of those
question,
extra Craigs. I need them.
no,
Craigslist. Somebody
I got
needs
you,
to
I
say
got you. I
Craigslist.
bought Craig indulgences from the.
He did, he bought 20 of
enough,
them.
enough.
Thank you.
I don't care about what he bought. Craig, please finish your statement.
I forget now what it was. I mean,
Again.
this all comes down to just presupposing that God exists, and we cannot get past that point unless you can show us that God exists and is something that is able to prescribe logic and laws and knowledge. Then you don't have an argument. Show me God or shut up.
Here you go.
That's not God. That is a
This
book.
is a book that God has given us, and the worldview.
Yeah,
that
it's
we
the-
present-
There's a
that's
nice
the
presupposition.
poster.
I'll give you that
for a
book.
minute.
That
Oh,
book came from
no,
that book
no,
came from
no,
that book
Craig,
came from
you
the printing
gentlemen.
press.
Craig,
Joe, that
you are
book came from the printing press. That book was
Gentlemen,
Don't send all those Craigs in one
gentlemen.
place.
The Bible. I
Joe,
bought
that book
my
did not come from
ability
God.
to
That book
say
was written by sheep herders.
Craig,
Huh.
what is your deal
Joe.
with sheep herders, Craig? There's nothing wrong.
I had to do was sign up for tier 2.
What the fuck?
I think she does this whenever it gets too heated.
Depends on how much money that I pledged to
Is that a dog having sex with another dog?
Okay.
What just happened?
No, it's a fucking dog watching
I
a YouTube
doggy-
video.
No, I mean on the YouTube
That's
video.
actually
Look, look, it looks like a dog humping another dog. Look, see?
Yeah, go back, go back.
Look at that. It's a dog humping another dog. It looks like a
I
wiener
don't
dog.
see it. I don't see it.
Look,
Okay.
see?
Oh, yep, that is.
Hell yeah, man.
It's a dog watching just dog porn, basically.
Okay.
What just happened?
That's hilarious.
Amazing cutaway.
I doggy prawn bombed you. Now listen, gentlemen. You can all night
Yeah,
back and
that's
forth,
what it
interrupt. I'm okay with playing
I like
that
going
game.
all
It can be entertaining, but at the same time, the viewers can't hear any of what you're
Fuck the
saying.
viewers.
There's like
Well,
700 of them
damn,
out
that's
there, probably more at this point. But I'm pretty sure they actually want to hear
Damn,
the arguments, or
Dusty.
even they want to hear the insults you're making. But they can't hear shit because you're going over each other. So let's at least try to give each other a
True.
little bit of vocal space here. Be mindful and play properly. Alex, did you finish your thought there, or did you want to dive in a little further? Because you've been a little quiet.
I asked Craig if, and the reason I can't say is because I'm in East Coast. We speak fast, so Craig takes me a second to say. Sorry.
A lot of syllables there.
He was he was saying that
One of
that
them.
the laws of logic are mind dependent concepts. I got that right, Craig? Craig?
Correct.
Yes.
They exist because humans made them up.
Okay. So did they exist before human minds existed?
No,
Okay. So how do you have a
we
universal
are
concept?
the laws of logic. We
Are the
made
laws
the
of
laws
logic
of logic.
universal?
Aliens
As
might think laws
defined.
of logic different.
As we have
I
defined them
concur.
when we created them, sure.
So yeah, so universal mind.
No, that wasn't
bending
that wasn't
concepts
universal.
do
Yes,
not
that was
exist.
qualified. Yes,
Nuance is lost on you, isn't it?
has to
No,
be.
it's not. You
Craig,
really
really-
want to circular
Craig,
argument.
That's an
No,
ad
you two really
hominem
what
train.
nuance is. Joe,
Craig,
Joe,
listen,
Joe,
I'm
let me
gonna
get
say
Joe.
straight
No,
in.
Joe, wait,
Quiet,
Joe.
quiet down. I'm gonna try to
Joe,
get.
no, Joe, I have a question
no,
for you. No,
Ed,
Joe, we get the
no,
questions.
No, Craig.
Joe, we get the
Quiet
questions.
down.
Calm down.
That is
Joe,
fair. The
Joe.
question should be coming from Flo and Craig,
I'm
technically.
gonna answer
already
what you
came.
said earlier.
Joe,
Just-
If you
No,
want
Joe,
to,
I'm going to ask you a question, Joe, and you're going to be quiet and listen.
Craig,
Okay.
why?
Craig,
Joe,
But he has to
Joe,
answer.
the laws
quiet.
of logic. Craig, that's
Joe,
not how you
Joe,
say
no,
it.
I am asking you a
Craig,
question,
compose
Joe.
yourself
Be
like
quiet
a man.
now.
Mm.
If the
Joe,
laws
this
of
is
logic
where I
are a
talk, Joe.
human
Joe,
convention-
this is where I talk and ask you a
Craig,
question,
this is
Joe.
where I respond
Quiet,
to what you
please.
said earlier.
No,
If the
Joe,
laws
I'm
of
asking you a
logic-
question. You can't
Okay,
respond because I
hold
haven't asked you a question yet.
on. Joel, what were you responding to?
Thank you. I was responding to Craig's claim that the laws of logic are merely a human convention. He's trying to move on because he's afraid of the answer to
Well,
this.
no, I'm trying to go back to the thing you've
Yes,
already moved
yes,
on
sure. You're
from.
trying to go back to whatever. Okay, listen, Craig.
Yeah.
If the laws of
I'd like
logic
to ask
are
my
merely
question
a
now that I've been
human
trying to ask for a few
convention-
minutes.
That's okay. I'll let you wait a little while longer. If the
No,
laws
I'll
of
tell you what we're
logic
going
are
to
a
do. You're going to
merely
stop
human
now, and
convention,
as we are the
then
ones that
the
are
real
asking
world
the
does not.
question.
Craig, Craig.
Joe,
Yeah, so I kind of looked this up a little bit, but the laws of logic are considered universal. But this can be challenged a little bit. Apparently, Aristotle and like a lot of Western philosophy treats laws of logic as like necessary truths, and that's where you're considered a universalist. there's like relativists or contextualists, which argue that these are more postmodern people, but in non-Western traditions, logic can be bound by culture or language dependent. And I think that's where you could maybe like steel man the opposite of that universalist view that but that Craig is really spewing here, or spewing is a term for it, but talking about. And then there's also like non-classical logic systems which would operate independent of that or as opposed to that. But
Yeah.
otherwise, like what they're talking about right now is just the universalist view of logic right here.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like, these are valid critiques, like, oh, it's like human dependent or mind dependent, but also it's universal. Like, yeah, these are real critiques, but I don't think theists are really making those critiques unless they want to get into postmodernism or if they want to get into like non-classical logical frames. Like they just agree with this regardless, and they're not being honest about it.
Yeah.
To pull a thing from their playbook, by the way.
Oh, no, Joe,
It's like, oh, yeah.
Stop for
Yeah.
just a second.
Oh, what was
Go
that?
ahead,
Joel,
go ahead. No, just go ahead.
Go.
I was
you've
gonna
got
say
exactly
something
30
stupid.
seconds to finish that up.
I can do that. If the laws of logic are merely a human convention, then they do not reflect the way the world really is, and the world is illogical and incoherent. If logic were merely convention, it
agree.
would be
Cool.
false and contradictory. Human experience shows that logic is discovered, not invented. If logic were a convention, it wouldn't exist where humans do not exist, and skeptics contradict themselves by appealing to logic while denying its objectivity. Logic is a reflection of the way reality actually is, and using it presupposes that logic is real, and the only worldview that accounts for that is God. You know it, and you are presupposing it when you argue against it.
Incorrect.
You want to
Logic,
take the okay.
yeah, like I've been trying to say for ages, no, logic is something that we came up with as humans. We have now decided that it is universal. That is something that we decided as we came up with logic, not something that was prescribed beforehand. Now,
We can
back
decide
to
on
the
the
question that
universal.
I asked you that you kept running away from. I said, show me God, and you showed me a book. A book is not God.
That's
A
not what
book
you
is something. A book is not God. It is a book. So I'm going to ask the question again. Can you show me God? Because that is the foundation of this. Show me God.
With your eyes, you want to see God with your eyes?
Yes, please.
You'll see him in about 100 years.
No,
Can you
show, no,
me
show
a
me
law of
God.
logic?
You want to see God?
Show me a law of logic?
Yes. No,
You want me to show
sorry,
you-
sorry, the
We
question.
invented the laws of logic as well.
You have to right now prove that God exists. Otherwise, you have no argument.
You want me to show you using your sense experience?
No, I want you to prove to me that God exists.
You want
I
me
don't
to
care
show
how
you-
you do it. Joel,
you-
I don't
you-
care how you do it, Joel. Just show me that God exists.
Okay, if knowledge is possible, God exists.
No,
Knowledge
that's a
is possible, God
presupposition.
exists.
Show me that God exists. Without
No, it's an
presupposing that God
argument.
exists.
Oh,
That's called a logical argument, Greg. I know you don't like logical
Presupposition.
arguments.
It's not a
That's what
logical
we're doing.
argument. It's
Oh
not
my
a logical argument.
Is
It's a
modus
presupposition.
ponens modus ponens valid?
It's a presupposition.
Is
It's not a logical
modus
argument.
ponens is a presupposition?
It's a
What is
saying
that?
God
What's modus
exists,
ponens?
therefore it's
Thank you.
knowledge.
Right. See, when Flowstate doesn't know a term, he asks for the definition. You just confidently assert like you.
Well, can you just answer my question and not take the opportunity to scumbag him?
If P, then Q. P,
Mhm.
therefore Q. It's a form of a syllogism.
Okay, so what you have here
You
is
can do that
basically
with God.
basically mathematical equation as defined by the person presenting the equation,
Kind
right?
Kind of.
So,
Yeah.
so yes, it's a reflection. Like, so you could say, you could say that logic is reflective of reality, but logic is really just how we've decided to define our experience of reality.
Now
we
we're getting
define-
somewhere. Now we're getting somewhere. Logic, the words that we use to describe and define and use logic, is reflective of reality. Absolutely right.
But the
we have
logic
to
itself,
presupp-
the logic
we have
is
to
a
presuppose-
human.
Go
Is
ahead.
a
They ran away
human
from the
creation.
question.
It's
Yeah.
yeah. You cannot
The
contradict
language.
yourself because we define it.
Yes, the language is human created. We're speaking English right now. We create our own
Okay.
notations, but the reality behind the logical notation, Dusty,
Patterns.
is real. It's not just a pattern. See, this is the difference. This is what I'm trying so hard to help you guys understand. And I don't mean that kind
You
of
don't need to help me, Joel.
I-
You're
yes,
not
yes, okay,
intelligent enough
sure,
to do
great,
that.
great.
Joel,
Quiet down, Craig,
you
Craig,
avoided
hold on,
my
Craig, I
question.
believe-
Oh,
you
Jesus,
acted
Lord
like
have
that.
mercy. I'm going to start playing
And-
really stupid videos to interrupt you guys. If you
He
keep
wants-
making me have to do it for you, it's going to be hot, sexy, steamy firemen, and none of you are going to want to watch it.
It always is when
So,
me and
if
Craig
you
are on a
keep-
team together.
If you act this way, I will treat
That's
you this
funny
way.
as fuck.
Let's go. Joel, finish your thought. Craig, respond.
Harder, mommy.
What we are trying to show you, and man, I know I lost my train of thought. Let me see if I can get back in 1 second. What we're trying to show you is that we're using
God. The problem is here is that it is up to the theist to actually figure out whether the laws of logic come from God.
Yeah, the
all they can
burden
do
of
is
proof
presuppose
is
it.
entirely on them. That's why we're taking the agnostic stance and not the atheist stance. It would
Mm-hmm.
put burden of proof on us, and that would give them the potential to control the entire conversation. We need to keep the burden of proof on them.
Mm-hmm. And
Usually
that's what they're doing
the
right now,
logical-
or at least I
Yeah.
think they're trying to do,
Mhm.
which is good. do
modus
that.
ponens. There we go. Modus ponens. The ability to use modus ponens
Manus pubis.
is, or any valid argument, is an entailment of the laws of logic. And the laws of logic, much like the preconditions
I'm
of
gonna use the
science, which
restroom real
love so-
quick. I
so
drank a
well,
lot of coconut water, so I'll be right back.
are assumptions that you bring to
Heard.
this kind of engagement. They are not a posteriori determined through experimentation. They are a priori assumptions or presuppositions that we bring. So as much as Craig hates presuppositions, he's been making them all night, and that is
they're 1 second. I'll address this in a moment.
I haven't made a single presupposition. I've not made one.
But they're not. But they're not presuppositions.
clear.
They're not. And they're not just God-given knowledge. They're defined, right? The reason it's a function of language itself. When you tell me about your charging block, I know that it can't be this knife because I know what a charging block is as we've defined it. So we all have to learn language. Thus we would have to learn laws of logic too.
Yes, we would have to learn the laws of logic in order to understand why what you just said is coherent.
You can't say
But
that
just because the law of logic pre-exists me doesn't mean it pre-exists everything.
So like the difference between like one a priori beliefs and presuppositions is that presuppositions are just taken for granted and they're not really justified. A priori beliefs are just things that you think are independent of any experience. Like it is just something you take to be true because it's something that is independent of you, and that's why it's probably mincing the fuck out of it. All right, I am legit mincing the fuck out of it. God, but yeah, presuppositions are just like not justified, and then a priori beliefs are justified because they exist independent of everyone's experience, or at least it is believed that they exist independent of everyone's experience. I'm gonna wait for Paul to get back and after this, and then I gotta dip for a moment.
Anything in Cosmos.
Oh, okay. So now defend. What are the laws of logic? Because now you're saying that the laws of logic.
I'm not defending shit. Hold on. You've had this debate flipped around all night long, and I've let it go on that way because our position is so much stronger. But you can continue the question. But before, I just want to let you know in advance, I'm probably not going to defend shit.
Oh, okay. You do have.
This breaks down to the fact that you guys have to have an imaginary friend for knowledge to exist.
Yeah.
And
So
tell me what. Exactly. A magic sky daddy. You can mock it all you want, but that's what it is. You have a magic sky daddy.
There's also an implied assumption there that something doesn't exist unless we know about it.
No, that's the exact opposite of what we're saying.
What?
So what is wrong with saying we don't know where everything came from? There are some things we don't understand.
Then why are we?
Then you don't have knowledge.
Right.
Yes, we do. You can have knowledge about knowing everything.
Here's the reality. You don't have knowledge. There are certain things you do not have knowledge of, like where everything came from.
Right.
So making an affirmative claim as if it's knowledge, that's actually lying.
Yeah.
You're not. You
What?
don't have knowledge.
You're not
gaining knowledge by making a claim. You're losing truth.
Flesh that out.
When you make the claim, when you make the claim that you know something, even though you don't know it, you are not actually gaining knowledge. What you're doing is you're obscuring
Okay.
truth and blocking yourself from gaining knowledge. So
okay. So I misunderstood you. I thought you were trying to say that because we don't know some things for certain, that therefore we don't know anything, and
No.
and that was lying. Okay, no. So, but would you at least agree that we do know some things for certain?
I would think. I mean, our own existence. I think. Therefore, I am. But ultimately, there's nothing that I can say or demonstrate that couldn't conceptually be undone.
Is that certain? Are you certain about that?
No, I'm not even certain about that.
Okay, right. So you see,
I mean, because we don't know what we don't know.
right? Exactly. So
You
this
said
is
that matter of factly.
Okay, see, so you're gaslight artists, but just because you have this knack for gaslighting and second guessing every single claim on earth or any foundation fraction of knowledge,
You know what the cogito
just
is,
because
right?
you're gaslight artists, as most religions are, doesn't mean that they're for God.
No, my argument does though.
But your argument
Could any
doesn't
of you
stand up to
repeat
any.
the syllogism
Your
I've given
argument
10
doesn't
times
stand up
tonight?
to any kind of scrutiny.
Can either of you even repeat the syllogism I've given 10 times tonight?
I don't really want to.
Is that like a
No,
sermon?
you can't because you don't understand. You're not even paying attention at this point.
Okay, that's
we
what
have to pay
every
attention.
that's
You-
wrong. We understand it.
you-
You keep
You can't even
trying to
repeat it.
smuggle in presuppositions, like you said a bazillion times,
Mhm.
and then just stand on those claims without ever dealing with the issue that you have.
I do want to make one thing clear real quick. The principle of explosion means that through one contradiction you can prove anything to be true. This is a very well known law in logic. Through this principle, if the laws of logic did not exist before human minds existed, that means there could be a contradiction. If that's true, then the world
That's
before
assumption.
human minds existed literally could not even make sense.
Lovely
And-
assumptions there.
and-
that was a whole bunch of assumptions.
I
filled
gave
with
you your
assumptions.
position right back.
And let me
to you.
point
No,
out.
you
Let me
didn't.
point
You
out.
just made assumptions.
Let me point out. Something existing does not depend on us understanding it.
that's correct.
Yeah.
Yes. Correct.
Unless it's the laws of logic, then you must know about it for it to exist.
Well, we have
Or
it's
else-
the rules of the game, right? We have to find these things. So if I
Then
lay
can
out the
we
rules of
define them differently?
Monopoly, if we're all
Can we
playing
define them
Monopoly, and I said this is how
differently?
you play Monopoly, and you're like, no, Uno. Well, okay,
Right.
That
Oh, so
doesn't
I
have-
can
that doesn't
define the
mean
law of
that-
logic however I want to.
it would not be the law of logic then anymore, not
Oh,
as
so
we
we
know it,
don't
as we
define
define
we
it.
discover it.
Okay, you know what? If you want to bring Uno cards into Monopoly, you can confuse them both
Okay,
up.
So
But we've
my
already
law
got
of
one,
logic
we've already
is
got
that
Uno.
God exists.
And I second that. So now we've defined logic as that.
Okay, so it's democracy. Reality is determined by
No,
democracy.
that's not.
You're
Listen,
saying.
Dusty, that's not our view. That's your view repeated back to you.
No,
see?
I told you already what my view is, and you keep acting like this is not a real God.
You define that.
Craig,
You define that as the
Craig.
God of the Bible. So you again.
You guys are just spinning Craig's left and right just for its own
Well,
sake. I see you over there.
He
You're just
disappeared. I was just wondering where he
Oh,
went.
he froze.
Oh.
It's a fake freeze. He's doing the
Uh-oh.
fake
Is it
freeze.
fake
I'm
freeze?
really
Holy
good at
shit,
it.
he went
Impossible.
catatonic.
We'll give him a second to Uh,
Now,
Dusty, what-
now
sorry, go ahead,
let
you
me.
were gonna say something.
Okay. Do you have something fast, or is it going to be
I thought you were
another
doing a
Joelism?
fake freeze.
I'm back.
No, I mean, I want to respect the fact that
All
again,
right,
I want you to be able to ask
cool.
questions.
How's
But
it
I
going
do
now?
want to point out that what you said a second ago about we don't have to understand something for it to be there.
They're
that is
they're
exactly
getting
what we're saying about
into
logic.
just the
Logic
limit.
does not
They're
depend on our
getting
ability
into
to
more
understand
limits
it.
of
Logic
knowledge
is
shit.
discovered. It does exist
Wonderful.
in a
And they're getting
transcendent
to
way.
the
So
laws
that's
of
what we're saying.
logic and
We're
how they're
proving that
supposedly
God is necessary for
discovered.
knowledge by showing that if no God, if in an atheistic scheme, it is actually impossible that you can have any knowledge at all. And you said yourself, I think a few times in this debate, that without God, you can't know anything for certain. That's
Well,
exactly what we're trying to say. But
that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying with God, as you presented it, you still don't know anything. You just claim you do.
well, I think we've done a little bit more than just make a bold-faced claim. I think we've actually offered an argument. And
Yeah,
I,
you have. You've
respectfully,
constructed a neat little logical riddle, a conceptual riddle.
I mean,
But
calling
it's
it that doesn't refute it. You know that.
it
That's
does. It does refute it. It
and that's a
refutes.
word game.
Okay, I'll concede. It's a word game to a word game. Fight fire with fire.
I mean, you're just doing it again. You
Hit
have to
it with
actually
fire.
refute the argument.
What was the
The
argument?
argument, the argument is that what you're pointing out is that we actually don't know everything for certain. There's basically nothing. There's nothing that we can say conclusively except that we exist, right? I think, therefore I am.
Well, you can't
That's
even say that. Sorry, go ahead.
sure I can. I mean, I sure I can. How could I not say that?
Well, because to do that, you have to presuppose the laws of logic. Because to say "I think, therefore I am," that's a logical
Yeah,
syllogism, and that is
so
presupposing the laws of logic.
the tool of conveying the piece of knowledge is dependent on the laws of logic. It's because it's language. It's also dependent on grammar. I can't say banana fart poodle.
Right.
And even though I'm thinking about my I think therefore I am, you're not going to know what I'm talking about. So we're
Right.
using language of
I'll
pre-existing
be right back. Go
rules.
on.
The fact that the
Okay.
medium doesn't deny the reality though. The reality is we can all experience our own existence. You can't demonstrate that you exist to me without any way of you could be AI. But we as individuals can each know for sure that we exist, and that cannot be taken away from us until we stop existing.
If you presuppose the laws of logic, you can articulate
No,
that. But
no,
you just
no,
you
no,
just
no, no, no,
believe
no, no,
there's
no,
some
no,
laws.
no. That's just wrong.
Did you contradict your earlier statement that you couldn't know anything
Oh,
for certain?
I
No,
qualified it. I added some
you
nuance.
said-
I've been trying to speak quickly because I know that y'all don't like nuance. But
We've been get,
Yeah,
sorry, we've been
nuance
getting
is just completely lost on you guys.
it's quite.
No,
interesting
you guys
nuance.
don't have nuance. You have like black and
okay.
white, and that's it.
Well, if you don't contradict yourself,
you
then you
don't
don't
have
know.
anything.
This
you
is
don't-
why you have to teach children about religion because
That's
adults are a lot harder to gaslight.
Yeah, I
Oh,
think you
Yeah,
should-
same
wonderful.
with evolution, right?
you really
I'm not a
should
fan of
teach
evolution
children.
either.
Mm.
I'm not.
We can all gang up on
general.
Craig. All right, let's change this debate.
All
Let's
right,
all.
here's
Yeah,
what
you
I'm
are
gonna
on the
do,
wrong side of this debate,
gentlemen.
though.
Here's what I'm gonna
I'm
do.
not.
You have exactly 2 minutes to.
Okay, what's going on?
That's all I
be-
need. I only need about 30 seconds.
Listen, I'm just.
I'm
using the
done.
I'm just using the ladies' room for a moment, but
Okay.
please behave, okay? But you have 2 minutes to get out whatever stupid shit you want to untouched.
All right,
You
so
guys are
here's
fucked
the
now.
real quick. The whole argument tonight is that God is the necessary precondition for knowledge. And if you really want me to spell it out, God
That's
has
what
all of the
prove.
attributes that are needed for logic and moral absolutes and the principles of mathematics. He is immaterial, absolute,
Moral
unchanging.
absolute. Can we?
Well, real quick, God has all of those attributes. Nothing in the godless worldview.
You're saying
has
that,
those
but you can't
attributes.
show me that God's real.
You explain from your worldview how you could possibly account for the laws of logic. Go ahead. You've got the floor
Language.
is
I've
yours.
done
We,
it.
yeah, we developed them.
It's been like the crux of my argument. Is that
Your argument is
Yeah,
that
Do you guys really not understand any of the words that we are saying?
No, I don't understand contradictions.
No, we don't have contradictions. The thing is, you guys
Or
are
circular
brainwashed by
arguments.
religion so much.
Ah,
It's incredible.
yeah,
Jesus
so-
has
The fact that
washed
you
my
have to,
brain
the
in
fact that you
blood,
have to
and I
defer
am here
to
for
a
it.
random magical deity. That 2,000 years
Ah.
ago, people thought other magical deities were the things that.
Yeah, but Craig, do you know
made
that
this
for
place.
certain?
I'm
You
in
have
the
to
middle of
refer
talking.
to a poster to have
Sarah's
I'm
not
in
here
the
to save you now,
boy.
buddy? Get in there.
I'm in the middle of talking.
You need my knife.
Craig,
Joe,
you know
Joe,
that-
I'm in the middle of talking. Joe, I'm in the middle of
Craig, did
talking.
you test that?
Joe,
in
I'm in the
lab?
middle. Joe, I'm in the middle.
Is that a
of
real
talking.
library behind you, Alex? I don't think
Is
so.
that,
No,
is
he's-
that a
I've read
scientific-
every single one
Joe,
of those books, by the way.
Is that a
You
scientific
did time too.
Joe,
conclusion?
Joe.
Is that a scientific conclusion,
Joe,
Craig?
Joe, you first have to show us that God exists before we can get anywhere in this conversation.
But according to what standard? Says who?
Well, you are
We-
saying
we
that
both-
God is
we
what
both
gives us
made
knowledge,
it.
so you have to show us that God exists.
Says who?
I've made an
Says
argument
the
for that.
debate
but you
judge.
can
Do you know that God exists?
Yeah.
Yes, I have shown you
Okay.
that God is necessary for knowledge.
No, you haven't. You've made the presupposition that he's necessary for
And
God's
I
knowledge.
justified that
That's all you've done.
presupposition, Craig.
No, you haven't. No, you
But
haven't.
how is it? How is it
You
that we
tried to
know how
justify it
words
with more
work?
presuppositions.
How do we know shit, but
Because
we
God
don't know
exists.
that God exists?
Because you are
you
denying
do.
the obvious truth that God exists. That is the
Okay.
entire point of this debate.
It's like,
Okay.
and look, it's not
There
like
is
we're saying
no-
you're lying to
But
us.
it's not the truth.
But
You have
look,
to
you
show
know,
us.
you all know
It's-
people who their girl cheats on them and they refuse to acknowledge it,
Right,
right?
that is the key.
right? I've
Okay.
probably even been there myself.
Let's-
But it's the same way.
Okay, let me hold on. Let me engage it. And this is just a thought exercise.
Go ahead.
Okay, let's say, okay, I'll agree to intelligent design, right?
Right? I
Can it be
believe-
Buddha? Can it be Allah? Can it be
No.
why?
Okay, because
Can it be
there's
the
only-
poster?
well, because if the God of the Bible is the necessary precondition for knowledge, there can only be one necessary precondition.
But your precondition doesn't have anything to qualify it as the God of the Bible. It
Okay.
just is basically a
Dusty,
an organization, really.
Dusty. I'm gonna really try and explain this. And
Okay.
since you directly asked about like other gods, this is
Okay.
the whole crux of the argument.
This will be a tangent argument. Then I'm not conceding anything for this.
I understand. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Look, we're here. We enjoy this. We want people to know the truth. Ultimately, I want people to know the Lord Jesus Christ, and I believe that He is the truth. Okay. So I enjoy this. But Only the God of the Bible has all of the attributes that are necessary for knowledge for truth.
Because one of them was triune nature, so
Yes,
you
yes.
actually it's not because your argument has any reason that it would be that way. You just have chosen to arbitrarily make it that way.
No. That's good. So I'm
There's a
glad you asked about
philosophical.
that.
Go ahead,
Yeah.
sorry.
So one of the biggest, hardest philosophical questions to answer is the problem of the one and the many. Which takes priority in life? Is it plurality or is it unity? And every philosophical system that tries to answer that question either puts all their chips on unity or all their chips on diversity. It's only Christianity with the triune God of Scripture that can adequately account for the equal ultimacy of unity and diversity. Allah can't do that.
All
Buddha
you're doing
can't
is
do
talking
that.
about values, though. That's just a value. There's no reason that
What?
a value, the one or the many.
No. I'm not talking about. I'm talking ontology, not just values or like I'm not talking value theory. I'm talking ontology. In life, there are categories and there are instantiations of those categories. I know this is getting very philosophical, but this is a debate. And I don't go this deep with my classes. Okay. But
Pause.
what's that?
So you're going extra deep. You're going deeper than normal with us.
Is this like some kind of a weird?
Yeah,
like-
it is. Go ahead. Go
Okay.
ahead.
Okay. All right. No, I don't want to go down there. My point to the impure, all things are impure. No offense. That's what the Bible
None taken.
Okay, so there are instantiations and there are categories. Only the Christian God is both one and many in his essence. God is tri-personal ultimacy. So no, that's why it can't be another God. There is no other God. That's why it can't be a poster, because the
Hold on.
poster is not the ultimate tri-personality.
So
Allah
in
is
order
your
to
God,
demonstrate that you were just leaning really hard on the laws of logic to then reference back to a God that breaks the first law of logic.
Can
Great
you show
question.
us how?
Yes, how so?
Because as we've defined the language, which is an important part of this, a father is that defines a relationship or a role
A
that is
person, right?
exclusive of it being its own son. Because fathers are in relationship to children,
Right.
and you can't be the same thing.
Can you quickly define the Trinity?
Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Like I don't know what sort of definition you're looking for, but
Right.
um,
Well,
No,
I think
I'm
that's
pretty
where
sure
the
it's
confusion
Superman,
comes
Batman,
from.
Wonder Woman, actually.
Yeah, that's great, Greg. We're actually having a real conversation. So yes, you said Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. And,
Oh,
and are
boy.
we monotheists or
Starting to zone out a little
polytheists?
bit.
well, polytheist, but you're going to say mono.
No, we're monotheists.
I see. I knew that was going to
Yeah,
happen.
okay. I would,
It's not
I would hope
because
you- I would hope you
the
would, though.
Trinity is like, oh, still one, right?
There's
Is that-
one God, and that one God has eternally existed in three persons: Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. So, Dusty, you articulated that
That's
correctly,
contradiction.
but you forgot. Yeah, right.
Literally not.
Sure.
It
it is.
actually exactly breaks
It's the
the first
difference.
law. of-
It's
Really?
the
Oh,
difference between
so
identity
close.
and predication.
Yes,
Yeah.
we're so close. Look, the Father
It's
is not
magic.
the Son. The Son.
Wait.
Hey, we're trying to have a real conversation. The Father is not the Son. The Son is not the Father is not the Spirit. God is three in person, one in essence. You have
Yeah,
to
okay, we
use.
really don't need a religion lesson. We need to know.
The
The
God.
car
only
is red. The
religion-
house is red. The apple is red. Is that a contradiction?
Okay, so what is God then?
Identity
What
and
does it
predication.
what does it mean to be God? Because if God is just a characteristic that three different entities have, first of all, that's polytheism. But what does it mean to be a God? Because Jesus
Not three
clearly
different
did fit the
entities.
bill.
It's one entity, three persons.
What does it mean to be God?
You mean just in general, or these?
No, in your belief, because I assume that the definition of God, as far as I'm concerned, is immortal. Jesus wasn't.
How is Jesus not immortal?
Did he die
He
for our
died.
sins?
With
Was he
respect,
fully man and fully God?
Yes.
Are those two definitions exclusive of the other? Yes.
Yes. So what's the problem?
Law of identity has now been broken by the Trinity.
No. God is not man. Jesus is not man and God in the same sense at the same time. Jesus is not mortal and immortal in the same sense and at the same time.
But also, you guys are okay with contradictions, anyway,
Magic.
right?
Yeah, I don't mind contradictions. They're cool.
That's
Yeah,
that's fine.
alright.
That's fine. I can see you trying to deflect.
They,
off.
they released a good album in
No,
2006.
You just
actually.
explained it.
So there's one God,
Wait, just
Yes.
I just want to. All right. I mean,
and he became fully human, which means he could die.
The Son of
what is
God.
death?
So that's a different. So we got a creation.
is
of See,
death?
this is polytheism.
No,
Yeah.
it's not. These are very, very low tier arguments against Christianity.
I don't give a fuck.
Well,
what
no,
you're- this is
you
low
say
tier
they're
logic.
tier.
This
Yeah,
is
you say they're low tier, but
Hey, I
Christianity
can
is
define
low
logic
tier
however I want
stupidity.
to. I can
All right,
define
well,
logic however I want to.
that. I guess that's true, but then we're not communicating with the same medium anymore. So now what you're saying is gobbledygook. We understand what logic is. We understand what monotheism is. We understand what one is and what
We understand
three is. So yes, you can say that three no longer means three.
But that's not
But-
what we're saying. We're the ones who aren't saying that.
What you're saying is that one doesn't really mean one.
That's literally the exact opposite of what we're saying.
Mm.
Who's gaslighting who, man? Respectfully, in all seriousness, you're talking about word games and gaslighting. You either truly have not understood a single word we're saying, or you are intentionally strawmanning us. And either way, it's not good.
It's neither of those things.
Okay,
You
then
are
maybe it's
gaslighting
My
us
shit
because
really that bad?
you're coming at us with an argument that does not make sense logically, linguistically. The way that we understand these things, our means of communication does not allow for a triune God.
Let's just, for the sake of argument, let's step into the Christian worldview for just a second, and let's see if it makes sense. We're going to run an internal critique on the Christian worldview. In the Christian worldview, there is one God who has eternally existed in three persons: Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. The Father is not the Son is not the Spirit is not the Father. There is no internal contradiction in the divine nature, and so there and that one God sufficiently and necessarily grounds the three laws of logic, which, by the way, are equally ultimate to one another.
What
There are
does-
three laws of logic, and they all exist necessarily. The only
Question about
God who
the
can ground
Christian
that is the
worldview.
God of the Bible. What's that?
Question about the Christian worldview. What is the Christian definition of one and three?
One means there is not more or less than a single one of these things.
Okay.
And three would be there's not more or less than
But
three.
so if there's one thing, it can only right. So if Jesus
What's
is
the
here
thing?
dying on the cross, which I
What's
don't know
the
how God can die, but if Jesus is
Is
dying
the
on the
thing a
cross,
being or a
but
person?
God is also over here charging my phone. How many things do we have?
Is personhood attached to being?
That question was nonsensical.
No.
Like,
Is a
refine
dog
it.
a being? Is a dog a being?
Sure, a dog can be a being.
Does a dog have personhood?
Depends on how you define personhood. It's got consciousness.
Exactly.
It's not a
Yeah, but
human.
It's not a person. Exactly. It's not a person.
It's not a human. Is that what you mean?
Well, it's not a person.
What's
Human
a
and person
person?
are different.
Yeah, what's a person? A corporation. It's not a corporation. It's not a human.
Self-aware consciousness.
Okay, well, it
Yeah,
has
I
that.
wouldn't use them. Yeah, I wouldn't use. Well, a dog is self-aware. And has
That's
consciousness.
that's debatable,
Okay,
but a
yeah,
chimp
that's-
is.
we don't have to go
I
there.
mean, my dog's
My whole
definitely
argument was
self-aware. Have you met a border collie? They are definitely self-aware.
Oh, you got one of those.
My-
Those are self-aware.
Oh yeah.
No, I don't think you can make the argument that personhood is attached to being. You don't have like
I mean,
a dog has
but
zero
again, this is
personhood
this
and
is just
one being.
semantics. That's why I asked you.
no,
Depends on
that's
how you're
not-
defining a person. If you're using the legal definition,
Yes,
corporations are persons. If you're using semantic or colloquial definition, you're
A
referring
human
to people.
being regarded as an individual.
Okay, well then God wouldn't fit a person, so it doesn't matter. So God doesn't have
Well,
personhood.
let's ask the Constitution, shall we? Because according to the Constitution, not all humans are are people. Because
That's also
weren't the
true.
slaves only classed as 3/5 of a person for varying reasons.
Okay,
I mean,
so
children are
we're not
and-
actually basing our argument
don't
tonight
use
on the Constitution. So that's okay, Craig. But back to the serious conversation. No offense.
Well, you asked how do we define a person,
Okay.
and that depends who's trying
How-
to define it. There's my point.
Yeah.
Okay,
How
so
do you define it?
I said a self-aware. What did I say? A self-aware consciousness.
Okay.
Okay, so
And does everybody agree with that?
I don't know. I came up. That's an iterative. That's a stipulated
I'm okay with going forward with it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So God would be three centers of consciousness, one essence or one being, and there's no contradiction.
What is
there
a
because
being then?
A being is an entity. God does. There is no.
So God's
contradiction.
more than one entity.
Hold on. There.
All right, so what have I
Correct.
missed?
Honestly, not much to be honest. I'm starting to kind of zone
That's
out at this point.
yeah, it's settled down a bit.
Yeah, I'm starting to kind of zone out. It's getting boring.
Are they just circling again?
Yeah, kinda.
Damn. Yeah.
We can continue
All
watching
right,
it for a
well-
little bit longer, or unless you think
Yeah,
we
let's
pretty much
see
have
it.
enough.
There is no. What?
Well, I wasn't
So,
listening for like the
person-
last 9
Greg,
minutes.
person
So.
is a person.
All
So
right,
how is it?
my personhood
I wouldn't know.
definition was bad.
Yeah.
That's the only point you've gotten all night to say.
Okay, but no, we're using Joel's anyways. What's a person?
I say a person is a self-conscious. What did I say? A self.
Oh yeah, yeah. What's a being? What's a being?
Self-aware consciousness. A being is an entity. It's a maybe let's call it a self-contained essence.
So there's three. Okay, so you're these are
Self-contained
synonymous.
essence
You're
is
using different
very,
you're
very
making a difference
wishy-washy.
or a distinction without a difference.
Well, respectfully, not at all. There's literally thousands of years of theology and philosophy that have unpacked these definitions. There is.
But there's more history showing that the world is flat.
I'm not. I don't. I honestly. That's a.
So
totally
my point is that
totally
the age of something is not reflective of its goodness.
No. What I'm saying is this isn't something I'm just like when we're talking about the difference between essence and person, or being and person. This isn't like something that we're just sort of pulling out of a hat.
So
I mean,
I
Has
understand
he
that.
even
Well,
made a
can you explain
distinction
to me
between
what the
essence and
difference
person?
is?
Have knowledge.
What's
outside
the
of
difference
I
between
honestly haven't really been
person
paying
and a being?
attention at this point. I'm just kind
yeah,
of
a
watching
being-
and zoning out.
It's not. It's exactly on topic, and you fucking know that. That's why you. That's why you wouldn't say
I'm
That's
something.
literally
probably
looking at the
partially
chat.
because I'm
Literally, dude just said I'm
tired,
falling asleep listening to this. So I'm looking.
Yeah, I know. There's a lot of Christians coping right now. Go ahead, Joel, please.
Yeah, right, sure. No, we love talking about God. We love God. We know God. God saved us from our sins. I can talk about God all night
Love
long.
God. How can you love such
Sure.
a beautiful thing?
Yeah, sure.
course
Craig.
you can.
Yeah, like, how
But
could you
we gotta
really
define
know?
God.
Ready to
Anyway,
use them.
God is look. We might just have to leave it here, and you don't have to like it or agree with it. But we have to use typal counting. We have to count things according to their type. God is one God, eternally existing in three persons. There is no contradiction there, and that's the
That-
only,
that is
that's the only theological
contradiction.
concept. The only
That
God
is.
that can.
What-
Oh my gosh.
What
that
is the
only
difference
God
Three
between being a person?
persons,
We were
but
almost
one
there.
concept.
that
Like,
can, that can
Mm.
sufficiently
or
and
like one
adequately
being. Like,
ground the three laws of logic. That's it. That's the argument. If you, I mean,
Presupposition.
What
Yeah,
is
that's
the
the
difference
justified
between a
presupposition.
being and
Very
a
good.
person?
I've literally just given you that. A being is a self-contained entity. A person is a self-aware consciousness.
So, but those are you basically said the same thing twice.
I didn't.
How do I know
Yeah.
if I'm looking at a being or a person?
Well, how would you know? Ask it a question. I mean,
Which one would answer me?
And
well,
how would
the
they
answer
answer?
It's a person.
Craig, are you a being or a person?
I think I'm a being and a person.
Yes,
How can I prove that he's only a being?
he's not only a being; he's a being and a person. Do you
Can you
think
give me an
persons-
example of a being that's not a person?
A
Or
dog?
a person? I'm sorry, a person that's not a being. Let's do
No.
that way. No, exactly, because they're the same thing.
No,
have you met
because
fire
all
first?
persons are beings.
A person is just a subcategory of a being.
All persons are beings. Not all beings are persons. This is
Right.
your
All
view.
narcissists are psychopaths. Anyways, we're saying the same thing.
Well, almost, but ours can ground knowledge and yours can't. And I think that there's a pretty good-
No,
Well, no,
he
it
can't. He
can
just
ground knowledge
asserts
in
that it
our
grounds
shared
on.
experiences
It's
and
just a
observations.
claim.
Not this again.
Yes, this again. I'm sorry, but you can't
I
get around
debunked
that.
it like
That's
4
just a
times.
presupposition.
No,
Greg.
just saying you've debunked it hasn't debunked it.
That's just a presupposition, Greg.
Our circular
No,
arguments.
it's not. It's not a presupposition.
Is it okay to use
Presupposition,
circular
Greg.
arguments?
It's not a circular argument. You can say
Justify
circular
it,
argument,
Greg.
but that's just what.
How do you know your
Yeah, I've
circles are
already done
reliable?
all that.
Yeah.
Yes,
we have.
because we can test them.
So, if we're
How do you-
feeling, let
how
me
do
get
you
it back on
observe-
track a
how do you
little bit.
observe those
Let me
tests?
get it back on track a little bit. You guys, as you just demonstrated, the Christian God does not abide by the first law of logic. So you're at a crossroad now. What is the higher authority, the laws of logic or God? Because you can go with faith or you can go with reason to
Joel has
support
an
the
answer.
claim that you don't actually have knowledge of.
That's a form of the Euthyphro dilemma. But I want to rewind 30 seconds because you said we just conceded that the Christian God violates the first law of logic. What is the first law of logic?
Identity.
So we're saying that God is not God.
Well, the exercise we just went through was me asking you basically to explain the difference between the being and a person,
Yeah,
and
and I
that's exactly where you fell apart, and we went back. So I'm taking that as a concession, even though I know you're going to say it's not. But you're also not going to explain it more.
Well, I respectfully, I think I've explained it pretty thoroughly. I think everyone
Right.
watching has seen me explain it, and I gave two different definitions. They weren't identical.
I mean, you've said a lot of
They
things.
weren't
just
mutually
you've explained
exclusive.
it.
Okay,
Yes, a
then
lot of
one more
things.
time, can you give me an example of a person that's not a being?
Hear me on this. If
In
I
10 words or less.
if I
God.
say no, that proves my point, not yours, because all persons are beings, but not all beings are persons. Those aren't identical concepts. So there's
How do you
that's
not
very
understand
important.
that defeats your
Because
argument?
it's the same thing. It's the same thing. Just one's a little bit more refined.
If
Both
God is
failure-
completely unique, should I be able to give
It's
you
like saying a car and an automobile, right? Not all cars are automobiles. Okay. But if I'm driving, if we're all sitting in the same thing, moving down the road, we're all in one car. That is a monocarist view, right?
I love that. So we
you
have
can't say that there's
Ride sharing is
actually three-
monocarist.
we're not actually driving in three vehicles just because you happen to own a vehicle and I happen to own a vehicle and they're in the garage at home.
It's a terrible analogy. I agree.
It was fan-fucking-tastic. Praise Limp Bizkit.
It was. I mean, you know, it's a terrible analogy. I mean,
Okay, it was a really bad analogy.
Thank you.
Yes, I'll concede that point.
Okay. So we
but-
count things according to type. We count persons according to person. We count deities according to deity. There's one deity, three persons. That's not a contradiction, and it's the only grounding for the.
How many gods are there in the Greek,
Pantheon.
Zeus, all that shit?
There,
How many?
A lot.
I don't
I-
think there's an ultimate creator god in the pantheon, but
Because in the
probably
pantheon,
thousands.
you have a lot of gods, which is what you're referring to, right?
No.
The difference between Zeus and Poseidon, they're both gods, but they're two different gods.
Correct.
Jesus and God are both gods. They're two different gods.
No, incorrect. That's a categorical error. Do you know why?
Mm-mm.
Okay, would you like me to explain why, or would you like
I
to just?
sure would.
Okay, when we're talking about the Greek gods, we're talking about non-ultimate beings. Remember, I said that God is ultimate tri-personality. The Greek gods, the Norse gods, the Roman gods,
What's
the
that
Hindu
mean?
gods. What's that?
Steve's got split personality.
I mean, because you keep bringing in jargon into
I'm
the
sorry.
conversation, and I got to stop you because I don't know what an ultimate personality is.
Understood. I understand. I'm not. That's helpful for you to say that because then I can try to translate what I'm saying into language we can all understand. Okay, the God of the Bible exists. Let's say this: He exists necessarily. He is higher than all. We literally call him God Most High. We sing songs about God Most High.
There's a god defeating penguin that must necessarily exist that is actually ultimate.
Yep.
And he must exist because God exists. Therefore, God doesn't exist.
Indeed.
Like the god defeating penguin is the actual ultimate being, guys. Trust. Like we can continue to go through this ad infinitum. Like this is so fucking played out. Wow, these are some fucking terrible arguments, man. Yeah. Welcome to theism.
Great. One thing that stay focused, man. One of the things that the Greek gods were not is none of them was existed necessarily. Okay, you can read about the birth of Zeus, the birth of Athena. You can talk about there's the
birth of Jesus.
Yeah, with respect to his human nature, yes, but that's categorically different than Zeus. Zeus was not an incarnate ultimate god who became man. Zeus had an origin. Do you see?
So Jesus then would not be God the same way you just excluded the Greek gods. I can exclude Jesus.
Why?
Because he isn't necessary. He was born. There's a birth story. There's an origin story. The universe existed without him, right? He died for 3 days, and I don't even get into the Old Testament. He wasn't in the Old Testament. But regardless, we could just say that we can just point at the 3 days in
Do a
hell.
debate on that soon. It'll be fun.
Yeah.
And say that the 3 days that Jesus before Jesus rose is enough to show that he didn't, right?
Well, no. First of all, when Jesus died, he did not cease to exist. That's very important. The Bible is unbelievably clear about that. And two, prior to Jesus' incarnation, do you think that we believe that Jesus didn't exist prior to the incarnation?
No, I know that you try to insist he did, but there's nothing in the Old Testament that says that. And
isn't that like Genesis 18?
I don't know which one that is, but like I've heard Chris go through and say, look, it talks about the Lamb of God. Jesus was a lamb, right? Like
Yeah,
this
it
is
talks
the
about the
sort
word
of
of God. It talks about the angel of the Lord. Jesus, but regardless, we are Christians. If you're going to do an internal critique of the Christian worldview, you have to actually attack what we actually believe to show that there's a contradiction.
Well, I don't know which variation you've got in your own head.
Well, I'll tell you which one. Let's open up to John chapter 1, verse 1. It's right there, first verse of John.
This is a trap to Bible study.
Yeah, just to be clear, which version of Christianity are you, Joel?
I'm one that believes the Bible.
Yeah, which one though?
He's a Protestant. He's a Protestant.
I'm the one that believes that John 1:1 says that in the beginning was the Word, and that's referring to Jesus.
Yeah, so give me a name.
He's a
What's your
Presbyterian or a
sect?
Methodist.
Which particular sect of Christianity are you? Can you please tell me?
Oh, is he non-denominational? That's
Christian.
cringe.
No, I'm not. I'm genuinely asking, so
love
I know
them.
what your argument is.
I understand that. I'm talking about the Bible. You're trying to sidetrack, and you got to.
No, I'm not. I'm asking what is the name of your sect of Christianity?
Why don't you pause for a minute and let's see if the answer that I just gave was understood by the person who asked it. Your partner, who you're supposed to be helping.
He is helping me.
Can you just answer the question? What is the name of your sect of
So,
Christianity?
so are we going to say asked and answered on that question then? Do you concede? You understand that Christians believe that Jesus pre-existed the creation?
I'm just going to ask
Not
it
you,
again. What's
Craig,
the
I'm
name of
talking
your
to
sect of Christianity? I mean,
I don't know
it's a
why I
simple
have to answer this
Just
question for
me.
you guys. He's an Orthodox. He's not.
Are you an Orthodox, are you?
I thought he said he was Catholic earlier, but
No.
I thought I could be wrong.
No, if you want to go down the look, I'm just before I answer it, since it's so important to you, I want to just say we are now moving on to a new question. I did correct the false understanding that Dusty made, where he was trying to say that we believe that Jesus did
No
not
answer.
pre-exist the incarnation and that Jesus ceased
No,
to exist.
that would be your false understanding that you corrected it, but we can move
I
past
mean,
it.
we took Joel's plane and flew it way past the debate prompt a while ago.
That's okay. We're gonna conclude here in about a minute, and then we'll roll into closing statements. So if you had a final thought to that, I would say go ahead and finish it up,
Closing statements or final thought?
or just a final thought to what Joel was and Craig were going at. If you wanted to conclude that notion of it.
I mean, I was asking a genuine question and no one was answering me.
Well,
It's
that's
because you have a
asking-
British accent and they sound sarcastic even when they're not.
No, it's
That's a fair
because I was
point.
answering.
I mean,
So Joe, genuinely, what is the name of your sect of Christianity?
Well, I don't belong to a particular sect. My church is a non-denominational church, but I
Yeah,
am
non-denominational.
Protestant, Baptist, Calvinist, New Covenant theologian, loose amillennialist.
all of them. You're an omelet.
So you like collecting all the Pokemons then?
Okay.
Have you considered Limp Bizkit?
Yes, we just did, and I showed you. why
Okay,
you have to read
One
the
through
If
manual.
you know what? You can integrate Limp Bizkit.
Limp Bizkit is rocking the set. I
How
don't
do you
know,
know
man.
that?
I was just assuming. I don't know. I haven't looked at the copyright
No,
issues.
no, that's right. Because you don't know anything, Dusty.
But see, you don't either. You just deny that you don't.
Okay. Should we go into our closing statements?
I'm gonna go ahead and call it. So what we'll do, gentlemen, we'll go into our closing statements. We'll read some super chats.
She's
and then I'll go
she's
into
tired of
open
this
panel,
fucking
and then we
debate
can
too.
get
That's
some more
crazy.
Yeah,
questions here, maybe
it's
possibly
going into
further
open
thought. I think
panel
it'll be
now, so
great.
we can stop watching this shit.
Yep.
Overall, still gonna be a layup, most likely.
This is I fucking would rather kill myself than to listen to that again. Holy fuck.
Yep.
Yeah, what grounds my epistemology? That my willingness to kill myself. I gotta stop saying that shit.
Yep.
Well, about Twitch.
Tomorrow
It's like
we
you
should
think
probably start
your
trying.
epistemology.
We should probably go over
Yeah,
crafting
go.
our opening statements a little bit and stuff.
If I'm off work tomorrow evening, I'll join you in that. If not, I will join you in the DMs. on
Sounds good.
that.
Sounds good. Now I'm going to go stretch and try to relax. And probably get
And
angry
I'm
watching all
going
the
to-
reviews completely misrepresent 28 years later because holy fuck. I'm seeing a fair amount of people agree with me that it was a disappointment, but I'm seeing all these different critics say it's like an 8 or a 9 out of 10. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Here's my suggestion. Go find a bunch of people to argue with on the internet, and that'll help you.
Honestly, yeah.
Just devolve into
Uh.
straight up degeneracy and being a nerd and just talk about all sorts of bullshit related to that movie.
Like, I'm not the only one who thinks that because of the trailer, people are probably going to be misled and think that this movie is going to be some sort of high tense octane thriller when it's not. And I don't think the average moviegoer likes slow burner dramas, right? I can't be the only one who thinks that.
Only time will tell. Only time will
Yep.
tell.
Well, I'm gonna head to bed. You have a good night, though, man.